Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 25th. We are on the eve of the finale for Big Brother 20, and we are here to update you on everything that happened on the Big Brother 20 live feeds yesterday. But we're also got something else special for you. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and joining me today is Jenny. How you doing, Jenny?
I'm great, Taran. I just wanted to let you know that I prepared for the Kaycee recap. I went through the IKEA catalog for several hours last night. Sorry, Kaycee. Still love you, girl.
There you go. Look, there are a lot of different ways to prepare, and that's a very valid one, I think, for Kaycee's game.
Also, don't hit the player.
Yes, also joining us this morning is Aman. How you doing, Aman?
Much better after that beautiful display of shade on this lovely Tuesday morning. I'm great. I'm excited to talk. Can't believe the end of the season is finally upon us. And yeah, I tweeted yesterday that I wanted to record from my reclining couch in Kaycee's honor, but the Wi-Fi connection's a little better in my room. So.
I got you.
It's all good. So we are here. We're going to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the feeds. Obviously, no major developments there, but there are a couple of little things we can talk about. And we are also here to talk about Kaycee's game across Big Brother 20. And I will just point out right from the get-go, it's going to be very different from both Tyler and JC's games. So just be prepared for that. Hopefully a bit shorter as well. So, all right, let's talk about yesterday. We had one. I think the most major development yesterday is that Tyler talked to the cameras at the end of the night, and he had sort of an emotional dialogue with the cameras about how much he loves Angela, and he's like really nervous that she's like not gonna like him after this, that he's ruined the thing, and that JC's getting in his head about like Angela's never gonna talk to you outside of this house, and she's like a fitness model, a professional athlete. What do I got to offer? I'm just a lifeguard. Very human moment for Tyler here, Aman.
Yeah, great that he's finally talking to the cameras. Not so great that it's about his showmance and not about any of the strategy or like what he plans on saying in his final speech and all of that stuff. But, I'm glad that he's finally acknowledging the fact that there are people that have been spending the better half of their summer and the beginning of their fall watching him play this game and wondering what's been going through his mind. But it was sweet, I guess. I'm still not that big on Tangela, but it's nice to see that he does have that, bit of insecurity that I don't think that you see from a lot of men when it comes to the girls. A lot of them, I feel like it's the other way around. So it was cool, I guess. Oh, that's true. We did get to see messy Fessy all season long. That is very true.
Now, if Tyler's really concerned that Angela's not going to want to date him after the show, there's one real clear way that I can think that he can increase those odds is winning 500K. So that should be really his focus at this moment, is figuring out how to wrap this up at the end. But
yeah, I will say, like, a very, very human moment for Tyler, but it reminds me of like maybe myself if I was in high school and I was talking to myself about a girl that I liked. It's a little like, come on, Tyler.
Tyler comes off as very inexperienced in relationships in general, so I guess I can see how she's intimidating, right? But
right, I think maybe this is kind of like another window into just why people all season long seem to just trust him and want to take care of him. Because on the outside, of course, we can see that he is running this game to a T. But I guess now, like, this little display of insecurity and will she, won't she, kind of just, I guess he's kind of giving off the same vibes that he's been giving off to the rest of his housemates, and that he's sort of, he's not so sure about some things. And that's probably why people were so willing to take care of him. But this is all supposed to be about Kaycee, not Tyler, but whatever.
Well, it's like,
did you not talk about him enough yesterday?
It's like, come on, Tyler. Like, what do you mean you're like, have some confidence in yourself? You maybe you're just a lifeguard, but look, you ran the Big Brother 20 house. Like, that's something, right?
And she told you that she fell in love with you. She was the first one to say it. You were kind of, I guess, and now you're over here.
If you lose Angela, it's not because you're a lifeguard. It's because you don't have confidence in yourself because you're a lifeguard. That's the thing.
You heard it here first.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Don't forget about the bowling. You have so much more than just being a lifeguard, Tyler.
Yes. JC also did let Tyler know that, hey, if you change your mind about taking me to the end, then just tell me first. I'll get over it. I'm a big boy. I can handle it, but I don't want to be sitting on that couch getting blindsided with you taking Kaycee over me because you changed your mind. Just tell me first. Now, do I believe JC? Not particularly. First of all, if Tyler does tell him beforehand, this is not Tyler saying, I've changed my mind. This is Tyler saying, I've been betraying you all season long, and I've had a secret final two with Kaycee, and I've never planned on taking you. And then also, I think this is much more for JC's benefit in terms of, like, tell me ahead of time so I can try to do something about it, more than, like tell me ahead of time because I'll be cool with it. I don't think really that's JC's style. But, good to point out that he said it at the very least, Amon.
Yeah, it kind of made me a little nervous with Tyler because it's like, man, like this is. At first, I was kind of more in the camp that JC really. I think that he will be able to surmount this. Like he'll be upset. He'll maybe throw a little bit of a temper tantrum, but at the end of the day, he'll still be Team Tyler all the way, and he'll vote for him. But I don't know. It's like, I mean, this is their last full day together in that house after 98 days. Like, of him thinking, oh God, like this might not end well. And I know that both Tyler and Kaycee were talking about, okay, maybe we're going to tell him at the end. Like, we don't really know how exactly it's going to go down, but I don't know. Like, especially since he was saying, I don't want to go with Kaycee. I don't even want her to be the one that takes me. Like, I want to be in this with you. So it's like even the alternative option for JC is like not good enough for him. It's like, this needs to be with you, Tyler. I want to be in the final two with you, nothing else. Sometimes I'm nervous.
Yeah, JC did say that if Kaycee cuts JC and takes Tyler, that JC will be campaigning for him in the jury roundtable, which is definitely going to happen for JC. And Tyler was like, "No, actually, the final three person just goes out and then they vote." And then JC's like, "No,
literally
Tyler.
right out onto the stage."
No, Tyler, I know this. They go out and then they talk first, and he's like, "You're wrong, but okay."
You should just let him think that.
Might be able to nudge the like juror next to you, maybe.
Right. Because he'll be sitting next to Angela, so.
Yeah, perfect.
This is also a nice little, bookend here. The premiere of Big Brother 20, I tweeted about how it looked like when Tyler's name was read first to go into the house, he was like, oh shit, I don't want to go in first. You know, he's a super fan. And now he's telling them just before the finale, yeah, I heard that there was a first in curse. And when I heard my name, I was like, oh, no, I'm not going in first.
Like, what casual hears that?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Of all the things to hear, like,
well, they're such like casuals themselves that they don't know how deep of a pull that is, right? Like,
I just feel like that'd be such a weird thing to know. Like, oh, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, it's to the point where like they don't know enough to catch him when he's telling them more than he should know, if that makes sense. And
there's so little time left. Like they don't have the the time to think about why he would know that and to be concerned about it. And then at this point, like Tyler being a super fan, I don't think if them figuring out even makes a difference. Like,
they're both taking him. Yeah.
I mean,
it's like, be more scared about him winning part 3. Like, that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, it's kind of just like, it's okay. Yay, cool, Tyler. I'm glad you're a super fan. But
Tyler's really just losing it in like waiting for the finale. He's like just playing around with them about like all the secrets that he has, and like he's in his own head about Angela. It's really getting to him, I think.
Yeah, see, to any other super fan, we would totally relate, but which is probably why he was talking to the cameras. But no one else. Kaycee and JC are just they're just happy to be there. It's the end of the road for them.
Yes. All right. So that's basically what was happening. Again, no major developments. It's still, still we're looking at the same conclusion here. Tyler and Kaycee going to part 3, looking like they're probably going to be taking each other. So we will likely have a Tyler versus Kaycee final 2. So that makes it very relevant to be talking about Kaycee's game across the season. What has she done right to get herself here and potentially win the game? What has she done wrong? What has she done? Period. No. So let's go.
Stands when the your mentions. Oh my god.
I'm turning off my notifications.
I didn't even mean to make that joke. It flowed out of me. It was the rule of 3s. All right. So really to talk about Kaycee's game, there is a lot that she does right. Just being herself. And I was the person who was highest on Kaycee's game throughout the entire season in terms of my rating for the stock watch and all of that. I just feel like, I felt like, and I continue to feel like she's perfectly this kind of like, the Colin Stone once said that Wu is better than 90% of Survivor players without even trying, just because of who he is. And that, I believe, is Kaycee. She's just naturally going to do well in any Big Brother season because of who she is. She doesn't really, she's loyal. She's straightforward, and she could get taken out at any point during the game, but she could also not get taken out at any point during the game, and she's always going to be a valuable asset to a good player. So if she gets picked up by a good player, then things are going to work out for her. Something that I really picked up on, especially going back, that kind of surprised me about Kaycee's game is how incredibly passive it was. It was very difficult to find anything that Kaycee did of her own initiative. She very much, if she branched out, it was because somebody told her to branch out. Like, hey, go talk to Sam, or hey, go talk to Bayleigh. And then she would go and do it, and she'd do it well. She really was just, she really comes into the game as somebody who's an athlete, who is like, I am a soldier, and I'm going to take my orders, and I'm going to execute them, and I'm not going to mess up. I'm going to just be a very steady force that you can rely on, and that's what's going to get me to the end, and it did. So I don't want anybody in the audience to think that when I talk about Kaycee's game, I am trying to detract from what she's done, because there is no right way to play the game necessarily, and what she has done is effective in its own right. So is it Tyler's game? Absolutely not. However, it is Kaycee's game, and so that's what we are going to be talking about here, Aman.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good summation. She was very. A piece of me really wants to see the feeds where, like, her and Tyler got together, because I would love to know who was the person that sort of initiated even the beginning of that alliance that carried her throughout the game. But she has been, she said that she watched a few seasons with her dad. She obviously knew the game. She knew the sort of things that it takes to succeed in the game. And I think that she had a certain mindset when going into that house, saying, I'm going to find a ride or die. I'm going to, not make any enemies. I'm going to try and be as, non-aggressive as possible. I don't want anybody to take any shots at me. And then when it comes to having to win competitions, I'll win them when I need to, and I'll use them if I need to. And yeah, it's been very like check the box for her. And for some, that's why some people are so bored with it, because it's sort of like paint by numbers. It's like, okay, well, like, and barring any of the criticism for being good TV or adding any drama, because I don't even necessarily think that that's people's main gripe. I think that people just really wanted to see her really be the one to make decisions and call shots, and that was never really her MO. And maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you're the one in the position, that's the person that usually gets come for. But that being said, she got to the end and she has the comp wins, which are obviously something that a lot of people like in the Big Brother player resume. So kudos to her. I mean, it's a different game, but it's still a good game.
Yeah, I mean, something that we talked about right from the beginning with Kaycee was that, she is in a position where she can do well. The thing we were concerned about is, does she have the killer instinct? The answer to that question is no, she doesn't. She is not going to cut Tyler. She didn't make the moves that she could have made to ensure a victory here. So instead, that she put herself in a position where she might have gone home in the last few weeks, and even now she might not win if she makes it to the end. However, that doesn't mean that just stops her from being a really good player. It doesn't stop her from being a regular good player. Right. There are definitely a lot of places where you can look for room for improvement. But I think Kaycee is really, more than any other player this season. We knew exactly what we were gonna get from her from the very first interview, and we never really changed that view, and that's really represented in the stock watch ratings and throughout the entire season and all of that. Wouldn't you say, Jenny?
I honestly think as well that Kaycee, the people that are going to reward a player like Kaycee aren't necessarily going to like if she plays the game that she plays up until a certain point and then suddenly becomes this has this killer instinct, this bloodthirstiness. Everyone, there's so much talk about she wins all these vetoes and doesn't do anything with them, but she doesn't necessarily need to, and that's not really her game. And so I just think that she's, like you said, she's just naturally a very likable person, very inoffensive, really good at having conversations with people and them giving her information, and her not being put into any situations of conflict. And we'll get to it, but in the times where we do sort of see, the few times where Kaycee is almost in somewhat conflict, that's not really where she shines. So I just really don't think that this was ever going to be her game, and that she, even if she had it in her to make these moves, I don't trust that she'd have the ability to stand up for herself against people when if she hurts anyone, because in the few times where she has to deal with those kinds of conversations, in my opinion, I don't think she handles them very well. I think I'm a person personally, I don't like conflict either. So I actually see some of myself in Kaycee, and so I relate to it, that she's good at being a yes, a yes woman, and just kind of, working well with people. And then when it comes back on her, she kind of she tenses up and doesn't handle it well. And I mean, that's not the worst quality in a person. It just doesn't, we've both said that, or all of us said that, it doesn't just make the most compelling game to watch, but it's still a winning strategy. And we very well could be, saying that this was the winning strategy, tomorrow night.
It's sort of like what you want your persona to come off as in the Big Brother house. You want people to think that you're that yes woman. You want people to think that you're agreeable. You want to be charismatic, but you also want to be the person that's enacting change in the game. It's kind of like that Derek thing. He was like that to everybody. He was that cool, older dad figure-ish in the house, but he was also using that to his advantage, where I think that Kaycee, she doesn't really do that in a lot of ways. And yes, a lot of that was because of the fact that things were just going her way anyway. As long as her and Tyler were safe, then I'm good. But yeah, it's I think you hit the nail on the head, and that she not necessarily, when those things come back on her, she's not, she kind of freezes up just a little bit. And she never really has to deal with it for long periods of time either, because she's only been on the block, what was it, twice, 3 times? So she hits the hump, she gets over it, and then smooth sailing for another couple of weeks, and then hitting another hump, and then getting over it. It's just kind of okay, Kaycee.
Well, and when you're paired up with Tyler and he's the strategic force, it doesn't even leave a lot of room for her to be doing much, because they need to be in lockstep. So if she's going off and doing her own things, that's not going to, you know what I mean? They need to be in simpatico, and Tyler is the one that kind of takes care of that, and she just is his sounding board and his support, and makes sure that she's keeping his name out of people's mouths. So I don't know that it behooves her to be going off and making all of these other, strategic moves, because they would probably be in conflict with what Tyler's doing.
Yeah.
So she kind of loses the strategic place by pairing up with someone like Tyler.
I mean, something I think that will be made clear and over the course of the season is that I don't think that that's a conscious decision made by Kaycee. I don't think there were any conscious strategic decisions made by Kaycee throughout the game. She was just who she is. So she comes in and she fits Tyler's gameplay style because she is the complete opposite of Tyler. We talked about how Tyler yesterday, incredibly adaptive. He is going to adapt to any situation. He's going to roll with the punches, figure out a new plan, change things up on a dime. Kaycee is the exact opposite. She is incredibly rigid. She comes up with her game plan from day one, which is essentially just be herself and be loyal to Tyler and level 6, and she follows that all the way down to the end. And even in the sense of she pretty much only socializes with level 6 for the most part. She hangs out, she does her thing. And when Tyler tells her to do something, or sometimes, Winston told her to do some things too, early on, she will go and do them. So let's talk. Let's go to week 1 here. Kaycee is obviously going to enter the game. As we talked about, she just wants to. She said in her pre-game interviews that she wanted to just be a loyal number and ride that to the end. So she gets in there. She ends up making. She quickly bonds with Tyler. She makes a final 2 of them called the Coast to Coast Alliance. She's then brought into the level 6 alliance with Tyler. They are the last people to join, but that's fine. They've got each other. And
the last people there.
Yeah. Man, she is very invisible on the feeds in the first week. She has that punishment where she gets trapped in rooms, and we don't even really see much of that. I was talking to these guys before the podcast started. There are large amounts of big gaps in my notes where Kaycee doesn't even appear, like days where she's not there. And so I'm like, okay, maybe she wasn't relevant, so I didn't write her down. And then I go and I check, online Big Brother, BB Daily, Jokers, and she's not on there either. Like she just vanishes from all recaps. She doesn't exist on the feed sometimes throughout the season, and that first week is one of the biggest amounts of time where she just really doesn't show up all that much. All we really know is that she hates Fessy. I don't know what started this, but even from week 1, the feeds come up and she's already talking about I want Fessy and Swaggy on the block. If I win HOH, I'm putting those 2 right up on the block. So that's a thing. There's a really funny moment where Kaycee is talking to Angela in week 1 about how much they hate the Faute people. And Kaycee tells Angela, I can't imagine being on that side of things where there's just one person telling you what to do the whole time, talking about Swaggy. That would be so annoying. I would never do that. It's like, oh, you just described the whole thing.
The difference in approach, okay?
Yeah.
Subtlety.
So yeah, that's really, she gets in that alliance with Tyler, the alliance with level 6. Very little socializing outside of that circle. She mostly just hangs out with Angela and Winston, and Rachel, and she talks to them. There's a lot of that sort of alliance bonding, trash talking the other side stuff that goes on.
Nothing brings people together like hating the same people.
Yes, exactly. It's very important. It's very important bonding stuff in Big Brother. Tyler wants to keep Sam in the game, so he tells Kaycee that she should be getting closer to Sam, and that she should be telling her hey, I have your vote, or you have my vote, and you just make Sam feel good, because Tyler wants Sam to be integrated into the level six people, especially Kaycee, who is one of his main people. So so that's really the impetus for the Kaycee and Sam bond, which starts here in week 1. So there's some stuff going on here, Amon.
Yeah. Yeah. She. I mean, that punish. You would think her being absent from all those recaps would have anything to do with that punishment, but no. It was just that she literally was just against the wall, just like a little ghost. She was just, there when she needed to be there, and then not there when she didn't need to be there. And yeah, it's like that first example of someone telling her, you know what, this will be good for our alliance. This is what's going to help us move forward. I really think that you should go ahead and do this. She's hanging out with Sam, making her feel good. And yeah, this is check number 1 for week 1 for Kaycee's game. And no waves made, no enemies made. She is, at this point, she's safe, she doesn't really have to do much. So, I mean, that's kind of like week 1 for a lot of people, unless you're a busybody running around trying to be a Devin, but no Devins here for her.
Yes. There's so many people at the beginning, and we have to remember that there are only really 2 cameras, like 2 sets of, cameras at a time. And so it's very easy if you're being inoffensive and not really doing much to really not even be on the feeds. But I do really think that she does great work in the first week with Sam. Recognizing the kind of way that you need to deal with someone like Sam, just being a nice person, making her feel, valued. I think that she probably benefits from, even though Kaycee's punishment was like way, way easier than Sam's, I think just the bond of both being in that position that first week kind of helps, put her in a good light with Sam, which eventually pulls Sam and Tyler and Kaycee together, which ends up, being a thing.
Yes. So yes, through the Tyler Sam connection, he sort of brings Kaycee in, and again, Kaycee very, very effective at just sort of being what Tyler needs her to be, and she's able to make this bond with Sam. She is a little bit of Tyler's sounding board here in the first week, though that is going to go away a bit. JC really fulfills that strategic role for Tyler for the most part, and Kaycee later on is mostly just gonna sit back a bit more. But Tyler does kind of sound off with her about Swaggy and how he's trying to make a deal with the bros, and Tyler's like, we got to make sure that we stop this before it ever comes back. We talked about that yesterday with Tyler's game. She does try to there's a great moment where Tyler says, like, okay, the reason we need to keep Sam is because she has the power. It's called a bonus life. She's gonna stay anyway, so we just need to vote for her, even if it's not gonna work. We need to vote for her to stay. And so Kaycee's like, okay, I got this, and she goes to Angela and Rachel, and she's like, okay, guys, we need to keep Sam. We need to vote to keep Sam. And they're like, wait, why? Just do it. We need to vote. We need to vote to keep Sam. Okay. That
was really smooth.
Yeah.
Very, very, very smooth.
Let's go. We need to just go and do it. What do you mean you need to know why? This is not how the game works, right, guys?
Yeah, it's
on the plan.
It's just, I mean, it's just like you don't really know. Even the smallest amount of trouble is like a little bit like, oh, I don't, because she couldn't really say it because she didn't want to out the power, but then there was like no finesse involved in trying to get people to do what you want them to do without giving them too much information. It's just like like a piece of me is like, Tyler, you probably should have just handled that on your own. You probably didn't even need her to do that, but I mean, they ended up getting what they wanted through that week anyway, so it really wasn't much of an issue.
Yes.
Kaycee's really good at like the kind of lying where she doesn't have to outright lie or even really outright admit things. Like she's later in the game when we know that she's not keeping certain people and she's having conversations with them. Like the way she handles those conversations are actually pretty good. It's when she's being, when she's actually having to lie, that's when you really see that this is not in her skill set, and that she's better off just being in these conversations where she's just like, yeah, oh, and like talks more about how they're feeling. Oh, I don't want you to feel like you can't come to me. Like, she's really good at being that supportive friend, even to people that she's going to send out the door. But when she's having to, have a conversation where she's got information and she's not allowed to share it, or she's, telling a story, a version of a story that isn't true, it is not where she shines, personally.
That's something
Which is
else.
a great quality in a human in general, like as a human, but not so much in a game where, you're not telling the truth to everyone.
That's something else that Tyler talked about yesterday on the feeds, actually, is that he was like, remember that time when Brett was claiming to be Scottie's vote and you yelled at Scottie for believing him that he voted to keep, like, that made no sense. Remember that? That was really weird. That was really kind of a low point for Kaycee's ability there. But we'll get to that part. So really, that's all that Kaycee's really doing throughout the week. Just hanging out with level 6, forming, she's good at forming bonds when she does it, but it's mostly, as I said, really, there's really no point throughout the season where I can find that like she does something of her own volition, like she's the impetus herself to go do something. It's Tyler's directing her to go do this, so she goes and does it, and she does it well.
And even in her talking all that crap about Fessy and Swaggy and saying, hey, I'm going to put them up on the block. And sure, that kind of seems like it's coming from a Kaycee place and not in anybody else's place.
That's true.
But
she wants to target Fessy.
Right. But even then, that's like the beginning of the game where they were all, I remember like when the feeds first came up, like one of the first things that I tweeted was like, oh my goodness, for like only 5 minutes into the feed and everybody is talking shit about everybody. I love it. So it's like, even in that moment, it's really like not that much different from what everybody else is doing, especially within her alliance, because they all don't like them anyway. So they're all saying stuff like, oh, I can't wait to put them up on the block. So, yeah.
Yes. So Steve is going to be evicted here by a vote of 7-6. And this week, the average rating for Kaycee in the Stockwatch is a 5.75. And she is going to have one of the more consistent ratings across the season. In fact, I think she has the most consistent rating. She's, a 5.75 here. I think she is eventually going to go up to around a 7, back down to a 5. Like that range is where Kaycee is going to stay, and there's something to be said about that. Again, like just a very consistent player here. So heading into week 2, Kaycee is going to continue to lie low and continue to mostly socialize with level 6. Some people are going to start to get nervous about Kaycee in week 2 because she never talks to them. Others see her as a pawn that can maybe be used. So like Scottie, starts to see Kaycee as like maybe we can use Kaycee. Other people are like, I don't know, she doesn't talk to us. That makes us really nervous. So that's sort of how she is seen in the house at this point in time. Her targets now, now that this week the plan is going to be to take Swaggy out of the house. Her target is going to be Fessy and Scottie now. So she's updating her target list. So obviously Kaitlyn wins the HOH. She initially wants to nominate Kaycee, but Tyler talks her out of it and convinces her, no, we need to backdoor Swaggy, and if we're backdooring Swaggy, we shouldn't use Kaycee as the pawn. We should use Scottie as the pawn. She, and the reason why she wanted to put up Kaycee again is because Kaycee never talks to her. Kaycee, she only talks to the level 6 people, so that makes her nervous, and she wanted to that's a good reason to put her up on the block. She does Kaitlyn does talk to Kaycee and lets her know that she's got a plan and everything will be fine. Kaycee's very happy with that. But Kaitlyn does continue to talk about Kaycee as when she talks to the Faute people, she says, Kaycee is going to be my replacement nominee if somebody goes up on the block. Kaycee is the excuse that she uses to hide the Swaggy plan. And they're all, okay with that. because she's sort of seen as the easy pawn here. Swaggy is going to attempt to campaign to Kaycee at some point in the week, along with Rachel, but of course that's going to go nowhere. Winston is going to ask Kaycee to talk to Sam and tell her not to fall for Swaggy's persuasion techniques. This is after Swaggy is backdoored, and she does go ahead and do that. So she's bonding with Sam a little more there. And then throughout the week, Kaitlyn is going to continue to be nervous, and she's going to get more nervous about Kaycee toward the end of the week. She really wants to know who Kaycee would target. She asks Kaycee this, and Kaycee tells her Fessy and Scottie would be my targets. Scottie does feel like Kaycee is somebody that is honest in the house, so that's a positive thing, and that's really like the stuff that's going on around Kaycee during this week. Again, still mostly just like lying low and talking with these level 6 people, Jenny.
And there is one point where Winston tries to get Kaycee to get Scottie's vote against Swaggy by saying something about Swaggy wanting Steve to go, which makes zero sense. Like, I don't know where Winston gets this plan, and Kaycee's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. So she does show like some ownership by like being given an opportunity to do something, like to make some sort of strategic move, but she does have the ability to see like this does not behoove her. There's no reason why she needs to get cute and try like there's no reason to do that. So she's like her own alliance member. She's just like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yes,
right. She's able to. She's still. I mean that's a good thing to like kind of buckle down on, is that like there's a lot of times where Kaycee is often told things to do that she does them, but she's still able to discern what is a good move and what is a bad move, which is still there's something to be said for that. It's just, what's the driving force behind that move in the first place? Was it you or was somebody else? And there's time when inaction is the right the right move, so that works for her. Right.
Right, and Kaycee is that kind of player who it's like there are a lot of players in Big Brother where you can just kind of hang back and let other people sink their own ships. That's never going to be Kaycee. She is going to consistently, she's never really going to like do anything extraordinary, but she's also never going to mess herself up. She knows enough to again just remain steady. And it feels like we're this is criticism, but it's really we're like, I think that's just because the culture of Big Brother is all about big moves. But it's really like there's something to be said about a steady, consistent player in the game, because it's very rare. It's difficult to, like, Kaycee is an above average player for sure. Mm-hmm. The average player will screw themselves up at some point in the game. Kaycee is not going to screw herself up, except for in the sense that her loyalty might force her to make decisions that are bad for her. But she's not gonna like make poor decisions that put like a huge target on her for no reason, right? Like the loyalty is a double-edged sword where it helps her get further, but it also can detract from her game later on. So it's like when I did these notes for Kaycee, I was like, it's really gonna sound like we're dumping on her, but that's really not what we're trying to do, or at least it's not what I'm trying to do. I don't know about these two.
I mean, it's really. I mean, I think the critique for her game it mirrors her game. Like she walks a fine line the entire way through, and I think when you criticize a game like that, it's going to sound as if we're saying that, hey, this is a the girl was lazy, and that's not what we're saying. Like, because there's a lot of work that went into it. Like, I mean, she won 5 vetoes. Like, she's not inactive. She's just. Oh, I wish there was a word. Is there a word for this type of? Because it's not a floater. And it's not like she's not a rat. Like, what is the name of this strategy where you are just?
I think it's probably closest to like a coaster. Like,
But I still don't even think I would call Kaycee a coaster.
I mean,
like, I don't know.
like she set herself up, and then like she apart from when she was like. I think it's the coaster is what I'm saying. I think that's the closest. I don't think it's exactly a coaster, because I think that you'd see a coaster as I guess who would you see as a coaster? I don't know.
Like Jordan Lloyd, maybe.
But see, Jordan was very similar, where like Jordan was just a likable person who was loyal to Jeff and did what Jeff said.
I think the one difference is that people don't generally consider
Coast to coast.
people with competition wins coast to coast. Wow, that's great. That people with like many competition wins as coasters, because generally the idea of the coaster is that they're not doing anything for their own game, and they're kind of just letting other people like bring them along by like not
Victoria.
doing anything. Yeah, exactly, like Victoria. But Kaycee does actually, especially in the latter half of the game, like she's very active in terms of protecting herself.
In terms of winning competitions, for sure. Like because I think you don't usually see a coaster as like winning a bunch of competitions. So maybe that's where
that's
a lot of
Especially not in that like succession, like
right.
that.
Like you'd never call Janelle a coaster, but
Right.
But
Janelle
in
did
a
a lot of
way-
different things too.
In a way, she's coasting with her wins, right? Because she's not doing anything. With
You're right.
them.
She's
Elevated.
not using them. Some people
It's
are
level
saying.
up coasting.
Some people are saying soldier. I feel like team player. Team player is
These are
pretty
new
good.
terms.
I think Kaycee called herself a team player before the season started. So I think team player is a pretty apt description there. So a team player. Well, that's a new. If Kaycee wins the game, then we'll have to create a new category. Team player.
It's a good off-season podcast. You guys talk about a bunch of like strategy.
Archetypes.
Exactly.
Yes. So as I mentioned, Kaycee is seen as potentially one of the votes for Swaggy that he tries to get, but obviously to no avail. Swaggy is going to be evicted by a vote of 8-4. Kaycee's average rating is going to remain the same at 5.75. Heading into week 3, Scottie is going to win HOH. So Kaycee's strategy, she's continuing to lay low. She's not doing much different here in week 3 either. However, her perception, the perception that people have of her in the game is starting to change. People are starting to, she's voted with level 6 twice now, and so people are starting to catch on. She's not a potential vote to be picked up. Instead, she is a number on the other side. And so this is starting to worry people even more. Not only does she not talk to them, but she's voting with the other side, and that's concerning. Scottie in particular is like, I'm not necessarily concerned about Kaycee herself, but I am concerned about the people that are being able to convince Kaycee to vote with them. Like whoever it is that's convincing Kaycee to vote with them, those are the people I'm concerned about. And other people are kind of like Haleigh and Rockstar in particular are like, what did we messed up, we lost Kaycee to the other side, that's not good. Should we try and target Kaycee? Maybe we'll think about it. That will progress as we go along in the coming weeks. But Scottie is HOH. He's nervous about who is controlling Kaycee. He actually says like, the people who are controlling Kaycee, those are the people I want to come after. Scottie decides it's the bros. The bros are controlling Kaycee. They're the ones that they're puppeteering the other side. It's the bros, and it's in particular it's Brett, because he's so charismatic, and so he wants to target the bros and Brett in particular. Kaycee does work with Angela. When she talks to Scottie, it's with Angela, and they both try to get Rockstar up on the block, but of course that does not work. Scottie wants to target Brett, and nobody but Brett himself can even momentarily talk him out of doing so. So that's what's gonna happen there with the nominations. Sam is going to tell Tyler and Kaycee. Sam and Tyler and Kaycee are really bonding together as a bit of a trio here at this point. Sam is going to tell them more about her power. Kaycee does not want to. She initially wants Sam to use the power, but Tyler does not want her to use the power, and so eventually Kaycee's going to come around to Tyler's way of thinking that she does not want the power to be used this week. Scottie starts seeing the women of level 6 as working together toward the middle of the week. He starts to see this sort of Angela, Kaycee, Rachel block as a threat, and this is going to be something that he carries on throughout a lot of the season, is that he really wants to take a shot at these three, the Angela, Rachel, Kaycee block. So that idea of like the bros controlling Kaycee starts to mold into there's a trio of women and I need to break them up, which we're going to see a lot of people want to break up these women over the course of the season. Kaycee is going to continue to want Fessy to go. She still is wanting to target Fessy if she can. She thinks that Fessy was the person controlling Scottie's nominations this week. She feels like Fessy is the one that convinced Scottie to put up the bros, so she really wants to take that shot at Fessy. She agrees with level 6 when they talk about we'd rather keep Brett around. She's like, I agree, I'm on board with that. Tyler lets her know that there's some trouble brewing between JC and Kaitlyn, so she's a little bit in the know there, and she's also thinking that she'd like Kaitlyn to go pretty soon, but Fessy first, then Kaitlyn. That's the order I'm on.
Just Fessy, man, one way or another. She just can't get him off of her mind. Yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting week for Kaycee, and that now like somebody from the other side has won, and they put two people up on her side of the house on the block. So now she sort of has to deal with who is best for my game, who is the one that, if in the event that these two are still left, which is the one that is going to be most beneficial for me if they stay in the house. And it's also interesting that Scottie is like, I'm not going to go after Kaycee. I just want to go after the people that are seemingly controlling her. And Kaycee is like, yeah, somebody must have convinced. It had to have been somebody else that's controlling Scottie that put somebody else on my side of the house up. So like, I'm not mad at Scottie. It's like, so there's like this weird mirror parallel between the two of them. So I thought that was very interesting to watch. But yeah, I mean, once again, it's kind of like, people are coming to Kaycee with information, and people are, coming to her with strategy. And she's sort of, even if she doesn't come around to it first, just give it a couple days and then she'll see where you're coming from. So she didn't really have to do much because she, once again, really wasn't in much danger, even though people have her name in their mouths, but she's still fine for the most part.
Yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I feel like Kaycee recognizes situations where she doesn't want to be put in a position to lie. There's like a conversation she has with Scottie where Scottie's asking Kaycee about the power and he references Sam, and she has to play dumb and acts like she hasn't heard anything about the rumor. Again, in these situations where she's having to blatantly lie, where she really does know about the power. And that is some of what fuels her desire to get Kaitlyn out of there soon, because she knows that Kaitlyn is responsible for Sam's power getting out to the other side. Like that's clearly why Scottie knows something about this and is asking her about it. And like, she does not want to be in these situations where she's having to be like, oh, I don't know, because that's not where she excels.
Yeah, I mean, she has a very similar situation that we talked about yesterday with Tyler, where Scottie questions her about Sam's power, and she denies knowledge of it, even though he knows that she knows. Scottie really catching people in lies, and that's also part of what fuels him to be like, okay, she is somebody that I should be worried about, especially in the context of he actually sees Sam as part of the group of women, Angela, Rachel, Kaycee, and Sam, and so he really wants to put a target on them and go after them as soon as he's able to get Brett out of the house, which of course is not going to happen. Another thing that happens this week is that Rockstar decides, you know what? I want to start an all-women's alliance, all-female alliance. Let's do this. She actually, the impetus for this is that she wants to secure the votes to get Brett out of the house. So she feels like the women should band together and evict this douchebag sexist guy in Brett, and like that's why she wanted to get the women together, because like surely the women can see that Brett needs to go for who he is, and so Rockstar really she's trying to get the women together here. She approaches Angela with it, and then Angela is going to bring this to Kaycee as well, and Angela wants to use the women's alliance. Now that Rockstar's approached Angela with it, Angela's like, why don't we just use this, tell JC about this, and that will help convince JC to evict Winston. So kind of a backfire effect there from Rockstar. Yeah. But Kaycee is in the know about this. She was approached as well. Kaycee agrees with that plan. Kaycee is of course going to bring this knowledge to Tyler as well, and let Tyler know that there is a women's alliance brewing. And this is also going to finally open the line of communication between Bayleigh and Kaycee. So when Kaycee talks to Tyler about the Women's Alliance, and she talks about how Bayleigh is a part of this, Tyler has been talking to Bayleigh, and he's been talking to her about Kaycee and how Kaycee's trustworthy. And so Tyler would love for Kaycee to get in on that as well, and then they can like kind of protect each other with Bayleigh, because Bayleigh is seen as a bit of a threat here. And so Bayleigh and Kaycee, the line of communication gets opened there. Bayleigh is looking for someone to bond with now that Swaggy is gone. She wants she wants a person. She wants a new person, and she wants that person to be Kaycee. So she tells Kaycee, I'm not worried about Tyler. I am worried about Kaitlyn and JC. Who are you worried about? And Kaycee tells Bayleigh, well, I want to target Fessy and put him up next to somebody like Rockstar, maybe Kaitlyn. They're opening up about their targets. They're opening up about some other things, and Kaycee is making sure to they have a few more conversations throughout the week, and Tyler is telling Kaycee, like, make sure you say good things about me. I'm saying good things about you. And so she's talking like, oh, Tyler's trustworthy. I feel bad for Tyler. He doesn't even like Kaitlyn. He's being controlled by Kaitlyn, so on and so forth. But this is an important relationship, and really one of I think Kaycee's again strengths in the game, where she is able to bond with these people once the line of communication gets opened, and she this is a very valuable connection for her to make, because Bayleigh is going to do a little bit of work to keep Kaycee safe on the Faute side, as well as Tyler, which means that the more vulnerable people in level 6 are not Tyler and not Kaycee. They're going to be the Angela, Rachel of it all, even though that is going to slightly change as well. But this is what really stuck out to me in week 3, sorry, when Kaycee is really being able to bond with Bayleigh. It really solidified that like this is a person that I think is going to make it far. The lack of a killer instinct may prevent her from solidifying her win, but I think that she has the social ability when the communication gets opened up to form these bonds, and that's a good thing, even though she does spend most of her time talking with the level 6 people. So the Bayleigh Kaycee connection has started here, Jenny.
Yeah, and I don't want to downplay Kaycee's role in that, because while you absolutely recognize that Tyler is the one that kind of makes the connection and gets into Bayleigh's ear about Kaycee being someone that she can rely on, like you kind of alluded to, Kaycee is really the one that uses her natural charm and social game to strengthen that bond with Bayleigh, and it starts to pay dividends like almost immediately, because Scottie and Bayleigh have a relationship, and there's a point where Scottie was kind of identifying Kaycee as one of the 4 that he thinks would be the hardest to beat at the end. And while they're having this conversation, Bayleigh straight up just says that, like, I think she said, oh, Kaycee's my baby, like, and is already like, in this week is really when they just started bonding after Swaggy goes, and she's already Bayleigh to Scottie is already being kind of protective of Kaycee. So that really does say something about the effect of Kaycee's social ability, that she can make these quick bonds. As soon as like you said, as soon as the connection is made, she bonds quickly with people. And there's something about her character that people just find just very lovable. And Bayleigh really, really clings to Kaycee and is almost kind of protective of her.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, once these connections are made, they kind of, you know, take a life of their own outside of the relationship that Kaycee has with Tyler. And this is also like when I started to think a little bit about more like, oh, okay, well, how is this going to? Does this become the point where Kaycee ends up being a bit more of a social nexus than Tyler is, because we can see just how well she's able to talk to other people. We can see just how well people are, especially like, I mean, Bayleigh just has a lot of love in her heart. She was just trying to save everybody when she makes connections with them. But I did start to wonder, I was like, maybe this really could be a thing that works out well for Kaycee, in that she, you know, sort of becomes this person that everybody just wants to keep around because she has everybody telling everyone else all these really cool qualities. I mean, she already has level 6. Now she has Bayleigh. Through Bayleigh, she'll have some Falsey people. So I was like, okay, Kaycee, I can see, you know, you've been sleeping for a bit, but you wake up a little bit, so I can see it.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, I was thinking the same thing. And it really is the case of like, you know, Kaycee is very good once she does branch out. I think again, like when I say that she is a passive player, like she never branched out on her own, but when people came to her, she was very good at solidifying that attempt to bond with her. So like when Bayleigh comes to her, she makes that connection. Then later on, much later on, Haleigh is going to come to her, and she's going to make that connection as well. Obviously, the other side of that is that she never really communicates with the rest of Faute, but she doesn't always need to, because, you know, she does have Bayleigh protecting her to some degree at the very least. So that's what's going on in week 3 here. Week 3. Winston is going to be evicted by a vote of 6-5, and Kaycee's rating has gone up now to a 6.75. I think we were all impressed at her ability to make this connection with Bayleigh, and that was a huge thing moving forward for Tyler and Kaycee, that they had Bayleigh on board, and that they were really reinforcing the bond that each of them had with her, moving forward from that. So then we are going to head into week 4, and Sam is going to win the HOH. Of course, Kaycee is in no danger from Sam. That's one of the bonds that she has in the house. Kaycee does want Rockstar gone this week. She would love to see Rockstar go when Sam is going to nominate Haleigh and Kaitlyn. I keep jumping the gun a little bit. She really not. Okay, so there wasn't. Did you guys have anything from the first half of this week?
Honestly, once Fessy uses the veto on Haleigh, that's when Kaycee kind of comes into any play in this week. Pre-veto, she's really not doing anything. It's not until Rockstar is on the block next to Kaitlyn that Kaycee starts making some moves, I guess, in terms of discussing who she thinks should be going here, which goes back and forth the entire week.
Yes. So basically, as we know, Sam is going to put up Kaitlyn and Haleigh. Fessy's going to win the veto. He's going to end up using it on Haleigh, and Rockstar will go up in Haleigh's place. Kaycee does want Rockstar gone, especially because she finds out that Rockstar is coming. She initially was thinking of like, okay, we'll keep Rockstar, because remember, she wanted Fessy gone, then Kaitlyn. So she did want Kaitlyn gone, but then she heard that Rockstar said that she was coming for Tyler. And so in discussing it with Tyler, she decides, no, we need to get Rockstar out of the house. And in doing so, she does think that she can pull in Bayleigh and get Bayleigh's vote to evict Rockstar. At this point, Angela has also made a deep connection with Bayleigh. They've formed the Amazons, or they're forming the Amazons. So, and with the help of Angela, they work on Bayleigh, and they are able to flip Bayleigh into evicting Rockstar. Bayleigh never really liked Rockstar. Which I think is a funny thread throughout the Big Brother 20 season. But Bayleigh is willing to vote Rockstar out and go with the women, join the Angela, Rachel, Kaycee, train, so to speak, and they get her vote. And so this is again, like, this is, I think, one of Kaycee's stronger moments throughout the season. She is able to flip, with the help of the other women, she is able to flip Bayleigh and secure that vote, which is huge at the time, because with Bayleigh flipping over and betraying the other side of the alliance, this could have really separated the Faute people, even before they end up getting separated with the various Hinky votes, and so on and so forth. So that's something that again, I think we found pretty impressive at the time, using the social connections to her advantage here, Aman.
Yeah, I mean, especially to go from not really doing too much in the first couple of weeks, and then to actually using what you have. That, I mean, us as the audience, we love to see people evolve in the game, and I think that's when we really got excited, because it's like, okay, she's actually using her connections she's flipping people. She can show that she can influence other people's decisions and not just have her own being influenced. I remember still not being too high on her at this point. I remember being a little impressed, but I was still kind of just like, it's going to make me sound really biased, but I'm just being honest. I was just really just like, oh yeah, Team Tyler. Yeah, he's getting whatever he wants this week again. Like, I really wasn't even paying too much mind, which I guess, that's kind of the thing that she was going for in the first place anyway. So
yes, and another thing that I remember finding impressive was that when she was talking to Bayleigh, she was able to read Bayleigh pretty well here, and she says, "Hey, I know you got the power. You don't need to tell me.
Oh yeah,
I can tell you have the power."
That's the thing when it comes to, like, that's the kind of dangerous thing for Kaycee's game. Is like, when you get those connections with people, and you are good at doing that, then everything else that's expected to come along with that relationship, when like, you want that person to be honest with you want that person to share their secrets, and like, you can kind of tell when you spend so much time with somebody when they're not being all the way honest. So it's like I kind of want to confront you on this, but you're like, because Bayleigh still denies it, and it's like, because is this going to cause a rift? Like, are we getting too close to the point where, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just it's kind of, it was kind of dicey. It's like, oh my god, it's
playing
Bayleigh
with live wires.
Yeah, like, are you gonna, like, is Bayleigh going to come after you now because now she's afraid that you're going to expose or tell everybody else, like, hey, I think she has something. So I was like, Kaycee, you might just want to just calm down a little bit. Just talk to Tyler about it.
Kaycee has like this like swag about her when she's having these sorts of conversations, like the way that she kind of addresses it with Bayleigh, like kind of coyly being like, just like Taran said, like, oh, I know, like, you got something, right? And we see that again later in these potentially awkward conversations later when she kind of is talking to Tyler about his relationship with Angela. Like, you see later on, like, she's kind of like, you guys are a thing, like, are you official yet? Like, but she's got like almost this kind of like playful smirk where it doesn't seem threatening at all. And so I don't know, she just has something about the way that she communicates these things that it does. If you were to read the text, you'd be like, oh, that's a bad conversation.
Right.
She's got this like style to how she has these conversations where it just does not come off threatening.
And that's exactly what happened to me. I was looking at BB updates and I read that thread and I was like, oh God, like, no, don't say anything. But you're right. I mean, she really, and she's able to talk to you in a way that's like, I think you have something, but don't, if you want to tell me, it's fine. It's fine. But I see.
Yeah, and so this was for me, I think the highest I was ever on Kaycee's game. I was really feeling like she really has the social chops here to do well. I was still worried about the killer instinct because that really it's a lot of these players fail around the end game because they don't have the killer instinct. So I was worried about that. But then she does make I think one of the bigger mistakes she makes in the game. I talked about how she doesn't make many obvious errors, but she does end up changing her mind about the flip. She does not follow through with flipping Bayleigh against her alliance. She allows Bayleigh to vote with her alliance again because when Kaitlyn confronts Angela about some nonsense, Angela gets mad at Kaitlyn. She talks it over with Kaycee, and Kaycee's like, "You're right." The sort of annoyance with Kaitlyn sort of overpowers her with Angela, and they decide we need to evict Kaitlyn here. We really want to do this. She lets Bayleigh know, and Bayleigh's like, "Oh, really? You're gonna let me? Oh, yeah, absolutely, I will vote Kaitlyn out." And Tyler is, of course, going to go along with it as well. This is going to end up putting the women of level 6 in some danger. Luckily, though, the person who is most against this move is the one that's going to have to pay for it. But Kaitlyn is going to be evicted by a vote of 9-1, and Kaycee's rating is going to again remain consistent here with a 6.75. So there you go. Week 4 for Kaycee, Aman.
Week 4. Another check in the box. Oh man, I really wanted to see Kaitlyn come back into that house. It just pains me to this day. But Kaycee, personally speaking, I was also very annoyed with Kaitlyn, so I was happy that Kaycee did this. Game wise, it was because you want. Big Brother is a live game, so it's really cool to see how people's mind shifts back and forth throughout the week, and it gives you that bit of unpredictability. But also, it can be very messy because it's like the more and more people that you choose to target, and you don't actually go after them, the more you're just leaving more time for that information to slip back to them that you were targeting them and that you actually didn't get that person out, and now they're trying to come after you. So it can be a little dicey by making one hard set target and then switching it up, especially when somebody on that side of the house knows that you were trying to target that person. It wasn't as clean a week for Kaycee in comparison to the weeks that she did nothing, but it was still successful nonetheless.
Yes, so we head into week 5. Bayleigh is going to win the HOH, and the Angela and Kaycee are going to be like, "Oh, we messed up. If Kaitlyn was here, she'd be going after Kaitlyn, and she would have just betrayed the rest of her alliance. Maybe we should have made a different decision here." Kaycee is going to talk to Bayleigh about Tyler. Once Bayleigh wins, Tyler's going to be very paranoid, so he's going to run to level 6 and Kaycee and be like, "Hey, we got to keep me off the block." And so Kaycee is going to go to Bayleigh very quickly and say, "Tyler, we trust Tyler, right? Like, Tyler's good." She is also then later going to attempt to sway Bayleigh away from putting Rachel up. She's going to talk to Bayleigh after Fessy has already talked her out of putting Rachel on the block, talked her out of putting JC on the block and putting Rachel up instead. Kaycee is going to talk about I feel like JC should be up on the block. I feel like that's a better option. She starts to make some progress here, but this was Bayleigh's original plan to put JC up. She does kind of want to put JC up, but unfortunately, Fessy is going to sort of win the day here and convince Bayleigh that JC needs to stay off the block and Rachel needs to go up. So there, she was definitely doing some stuff there. She does also try to get Bayleigh to consider the idea of backdooring Scottie, which also unfortunately is not going to work out quite well. So that's what she's doing there with Bayleigh's HOH before the whole Rachel thing happens, Jenny.
Yeah, there was actually kind of a funny thing I took a note about was that when Kaycee is trying to kind of hint that Scottie could have been the hinky vote to stir the pot and possibly see if if Scottie could be a backdoor option. Simultaneously, like maybe not at the exact same time, but like Scottie and Bayleigh have a conversation, and he lists Kaycee as someone that Bayleigh shouldn't nominate. So it's like even like Kaycee has something to her social game where, you know, even while she's kind of going against someone, simultaneously they're actually inadvertently like protecting her. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing that, you know, would easily get missed, is just that she does have people kind of, you know, veering her name away from people. I don't know if maybe that's Scottie appealing to Bayleigh, knowing that Bayleigh and Kaycee have a relationship, but I did just think it was very interesting that while Kaycee is trying to get Scottie backdoored, that Scottie is actually saying like, no, we don't want to touch Kaycee.
Right, and at this point in time, Scottie feels like, in particular, the bond between Angela and Rachel is stronger than the bond between Kaycee and those two, and he feels like those two are bigger threats. So he would rather, he really wants to take a shot at Angela and Rachel at this point, and so you know, that he's really focused on that part of it, and so yes, he's trying to keep Kaycee out of it if he can. But you know, Bayleigh never really listened to Scottie. Scottie was really discredited, you know, because of the whole Swaggy vote, and then you know, Scottie's my best friend. So even though Scottie was so loyal and he had good plans, they never really trusted him. So eventually, as we all know, the Rachel stuff happens. Rachel is told by Bayleigh that Tyler's trying to get Angela up on the block. Rachel brings this to Angela. They then go to Kaycee. Kaycee says, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Tyler would never betray us. So Angela tries to say, Kaycee, please don't tell Tyler. Kaycee says, I won't tell Tyler. Kaycee goes and tells Tyler. Tyler says, no, definitely didn't do that. And so then they both bring it to Angela. They decide they're going to take Rachel out of the game. And then Tyler, of course, is later going to smooth it over with Rachel as well. So at this point, she is agreeing that she would like Rachel to go. I know that at the time we were really looking at this as like, wow, like how did this happen? Why are Kaycee and Angela agreeing to take Rachel out of the game here? It really only makes sense for Tyler. You know, so you know, this it's really again, like, you have to look at it from her perspective, where it's just like, it doesn't really matter. She's not focusing on an individual game. She is the team player. Right. She's looking at this from the team perspective, and Rachel was a threat to the team as a whole. She was causing dissension, so Rachel had to go. And I think that's really where this sort of thing came from. This is also the point where Sam is going to talk to Kaycee about, you know, Kaycee and Tyler, you two are my only priorities in the game. I'm like the mom, and you two are like the siblings.
Kaycee's older than her.
Something like that.
Weird family.
Very weird, very strange. This is really the high point of the Kaycee-Sam relationship. It's really going to deteriorate from here. There was really never a reason to talk, like there were never any directions of like, you should be bonding more with Sam at this point, like this, except for the Bayleigh vote, which is later going to happen, where she tries to rekindle this. The Kaycee and Sam relationship really starts to just kind of separate at this point, similarly to what happened with Tyler, but not to the same extent, because Tyler does end up checking in with Sam on a weekly basis. But this is really the high point of the Kaycee-Sam relationship. And so yes, so that's going on with Sam, Aman.
I mean, and it's not necessarily a bad thing either, because I mean, we know how Sam, we know how her story goes. So I'm not, even if it wasn't even necessarily a strategic or an emotionally exhausting thing for Kaycee to continue to, have this relationship with this person. I think it's definitely for the best in that you want to stay close with her in the sense that you don't want her ever coming after you, but you kind of you need to be around Sam when you need to use her, and that's it. And that might seem very cold and very just like strictly big brother strategy, but like I think for certain personalities like Sam, it behooves a certain person to sort of, especially somebody as laid back as Kaycee, kind of behooves her to sort of, like we've had our fun for the past couple of weeks. Still love you. If we need each other, we're here. But I'm gonna go hang out over here for a little bit. So I didn't think that was too much of a detriment at all.
Yes.
The one thing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the one thing that I noticed from Kaycee in this particular week is just another emphasis on like the human quality of her social game. Where when level 6 turns on Rachel, I mean, like the whole what's wrong with Angela like flips a switch and is like Angela and Rachel had been so close, and we see Angela just totally turn her back on Rachel. And while Kaycee, like as we said, is a team player, and if Rachel going is, what's best for the team, she's going to go with it. But you actually do see like a bit of conflict within Kaycee as a human and as a friend to Rachel. Like she brings up a couple times feeling bad that like this is a dream of Rachel's and she feels terrible that this is happening to her. She reiterates that she understands that that she's a liability and that she needs to go. But I just really feel like of all the people in level 6, Kaycee shows a level of compassion that none of them show. Even though she sticks to the plan, she has this way of like she's empathetic, and it's subtle, but it's something that carries on throughout the game. And this is one of the points that I really noticed it earlier on in the game, that she has compassion for people, and it shows.
Yeah, she talks with Tyler a lot this week about how they both talk about how they feel bad for Rachel in this spot, which is very funny considering the goodbye messages that she ends up getting from Angela. But yeah, she definitely has trouble with this part of the game where she does feel bad for people that aren't named Fessy or Haleigh when they end up going. So it's definitely something to know. Again, it's just who she is. It's like she feels bad. Putting that knife in people's backs. At this point, she is starting to lose her grip on Bayleigh. She formed that bond previously, but again, she's not a very active player, so she's not like actively maintaining that bond with Bayleigh. So Bayleigh is starting to drift away from her over the course of the week, and Bayleigh remembers that Kaycee told her that she wants to target Fessy. So Bayleigh is starting to worry about Kaycee moving forward. She starts telling people that she starts telling she actually tells Rachel that she would use her power if Kaycee won the HOH, because she doesn't want Kaycee coming after Fessy, and she wants to protect Fessy from Kaycee. So that's happening with the Bayleigh relationship. Meanwhile, Bayleigh's power app knowledge is spreading. Rachel told Angela, who told Tyler, who is going to tell Kaycee about Bayleigh's power app. They do come up with Kaycee, Angela, and Tyler come up with a plan to come up with reasons for why they voted to evict Rachel for Bayleigh. They're going to say that she made she tried to make final twos with all of them, and that's why they Rachel was so sketchy. This is going to be very effective when it comes to explaining away their votes. And then as the week progresses, toward the end of the week, Bayleigh and Scottie have really they really see, again, like it's the sort of thing where it's like, if you never bond with somebody, then they can maybe be nervous about you. Like if you never talk to them, they're nervous about you. They're not sure what you do, but you can always then bond with them and everything's cool. Like, oh, we never really connected, but now we did. But once you bond with somebody once, if you then back off of it, it really makes them nervous. And that's what's happening with Bayleigh here. She talks with Scottie about how they're actually really nervous about Kaycee. They're hoping that Fessy can win an HOH and target them for her. She she they actually want Kaycee targeted next week, and Haleigh is also talking about putting Kaycee up on the block. Kaycee, she sees Kaycee as a floater. She would love to put her up, put a little scare into her, in a similar way that she ends up doing with Tyler. She is initially thinking about doing this to Kaycee, not necessarily as a target like Bayleigh and Scottie, but at the very least as a pawn, just to kind of like put that little. Haleigh's all about putting a scare into people.
Yeah, which is so silly. Like, if you go and nominate them to get them out. Don't, like, especially when your side of the house is beginning to lose the. Like, we could talk for ages about Falte, but I agree with what you were gonna say, and I wanted to mention that earlier, and that like that's part of like it's a double-edged sword of having a good social game, and that like if you're gonna go out here and make these connections, then like you better come home at night. You know what I mean? Like, don't come out here and make it like who are you talking to? Like who is this? Who is this? So like I think that can get really hard for, and not only Kaycee, but we see that with Tyler as well, because it's like he's so good at making all these connections with people that when you end up going against that person in the long run, it's like, ooh, well, who is this person? And we'll talk about it as we get throughout the season, but that's kind of like what it comes down to, I think, with this jury. And like, who do you think handled the negative ends of their social game the best? So I agree.
Yes. So Rachel is going to be evicted by a vote of 5-4. Kaycee's rating this week bumps up again to a 7.25. She's doing her thing again pretty consistently. She's making it through these weeks. This rating did happen before the talk of targeting Kaycee started. So I think it might have been lower if we had seen that part before the rating, but by the time the next rating comes around, it doesn't matter, because Angela is going to win the HOH in week 6, which is going to be good for Kaycee. It's going to keep Kaycee safe here. And so, Angela wins the HOH. She's initially thinking about backdooring Scottie. She talks about this plan with Kaycee. Kaycee is on board. Let's backdoor Scottie. Tyler, of course, is going to flip that around and change it to, no, we have to take Bayleigh out because she has a power, and that's really dangerous. Then, there's not a whole lot that's going into Kaycee's game this week. Angela's HOH, she's, again, mostly just socializing with level 6 at this point. Tyler does end up going up on the block through the hacker nomination. Kaycee is convinced that this was Bayleigh, and she is chosen to play in the veto. That's happening. Tyler ends up winning this veto, giving it to Angela. Rockstar is going to once again pitch the Women's Alliance to Angela to try and convince Angela to put up Scottie. And Angela is going to bring this to Kaycee, and they both laugh about it. Like, these idiots. They think that this is going to work. Angela's going to tell Scottie about this, and Scottie is going to reveal that Bayleigh wanted him to go after Kaycee if he won this week. So, the Bayleigh, she is the worst. She is getting me to swear on Bibles. She is trying to get us to go after Kaycee and Angela and you guys. This is bad stuff. Bayleigh's bad. That's what's going on, Jenny.
Yeah, pretty bad for Bayleigh here. Bayleigh is getting, everything thrown at her. She's the hacker. She's making, she's after everyone. She and I mean, this is the beginning of the end of Kaycee and Bayleigh's friendship, which is too bad, because I think that it was one of the underrated bonds that Kaycee makes early in the game. It's really, it's unfortunate for Bayleigh, obviously, that everything fell apart with her telling Rachel about the power and all, everything that preceded, because I really think that that Kaycee really could have used Bayleigh. But this is a sacrifice that she, needs to make, because she can't be having someone with that kind of power around here anymore.
Yes. So Bayleigh is going to get backdoored. And Kaycee feels bad. Like she genuinely feels bad for Bayleigh, and so she's going to end up, because she feels bad. She admits to, she's like, look, I feel bad about this. I want to be honest with you. I did know this was going to happen. And Bayleigh's like, well, what the hell? Like, why didn't you come to me? Like, why didn't you talk to me? And Bayleigh Kaycee does try to kind of like defend herself and give her reasoning, but that is not what Bayleigh is looking for. Bayleigh gets very mad. Kaycee starts crying. Bayleigh gets even more mad that Kaycee is crying. She's like, why are you the one crying? I'm the one that got betrayed. This is not okay. Kaycee still doesn't believe that Haleigh was the hacker, even after Haleigh comes out as the hacker, which makes Bayleigh even more mad. She's just like, you still don't even believe me? What's wrong with you? Why do you hate me? This is really... Bayleigh is, again, we talked about this yesterday. Bayleigh's mad at the world. I don't think there was a single possible way that anyone could have handled Bayleigh correctly this week. She was just going to be mad no matter what here. Just very, very upset, Aman.
Yeah, it's oh god, yeah. I remember watching that, and I think what really started that argument was the fact that Kaycee didn't Bayleigh felt like Kaycee was ignoring her after that big ass blow up, and she just wanted Kaycee to be the one to like come and comfort her, and Kaycee didn't know. Once again, she doesn't know how to handle stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing for her to do would be to just like, I'm gonna just take myself into this room, I'm gonna eat my food, I'm gonna cry into my food, and then Bayleigh comes in, and then it's just another fight, and Kaycee's just trying to go on the defense all the time as the football player that she is, but she can't sympathize in the moment. All she saw before then was like this big perturbation in the alliance, someone that could potentially tank her alliance. So that's what she needed to do. And then of course now she has to deal with all the emotional repercussions of the moves that she's made, and she's not good at it. It makes me really wonder, like, how is Bayleigh going to vote at the end of this? Because she was hurt by both, like, she had both connections with Tyler and Kaycee. It's like, who are you more mad at? Like, are you mad at the person that waited until afterwards to say anything to you and try and, reason with them? Or are you mad at the person that you were fighting with during that big blow up? Like, that'll be very interesting to see how that works out.
And this is also where the swagger, the Kaycee swagger that we talked about, backfires a lot, because Bayleigh's going to confront her again, and Kaycee really the second time takes the more defensive route rather than the I feel bad and I'm going to like cry about it route, and she has that sort of swagger to her, and she's not apologizing. She's like, look, you were the hacker, and like this is the move that we had to make because you did this thing, and Bayleigh's like, why are you laughing at me right now? And she's like, I'm not laughing. This is just how I talk. Bayleigh's like, you are going to feel so dumb when you find out that I wasn't the hacker. She's going to storm off again. Just a lot of incidents here with Bayleigh. Kaycee's also... this is we talked about how this was Tyler at his most emotional. This is one of Kaycee's more emotional weeks as well. She's very upset with Haleigh. Really starts spending a lot of. She's finally kind of drifting. She's she really did not like Fessy. Now she really does not like Haleigh. She is like really trash talking Haleigh throughout the week. To Level 6 and to JC. And JC, of course, loves it when people trash talk Haleigh. So that's very fun. And then we get to toward the end of the week, Sam is going to be a very, very key vote. They need Sam's vote. Tyler is trying to get Sam's vote. He's telling Kaycee, you need to try and secure Sam's vote. And Kaycee is not very successful. She's really trying. She pushes hard for Sam, like, hey, you really need to do this. If you don't do this, then we won't have the votes, and so on and so forth. And Sam is like kind of turned off by this. She really likes Bayleigh. She doesn't want to do this. Tyler and Kaycee both are gonna fail here with Sam. As I said, like the week before or a couple weeks before was really the high point of the Sam Sam and Kaycee relationship, and this is this is definitely on the decline here. And Kaycee's going to be very pissed at Sam after she ends up not voting their way this time. So Sam is going to vote against them, and then Bayleigh is in fact going to leave by a vote of 6-1. She leaves upset with pretty much everyone, including Kaycee. She did kind of go on an apology tour before she left, but again, sort of like a very passive aggressive apology tour, where like when she talked to Kaycee, she was like, I mean, I know you hate me, but it's fine, and like I'm still gonna be the bigger person and apologize to you. Really, I think you would have said hard to say where Bayleigh's vote is going to fall. Although I think in subsequent jury segments, we have seen that she has come around on Kaycee. So even though she leaves feeling upset with Kaycee, she is, she's back on the Kaycee train, Jenny.
Yeah, and I think that this is one of the cases where people not realizing that Kaycee and Tyler are as close as they are kind of hurts Kaycee. I mean, it protects her, but it hurts her with Bayleigh, because what Bayleigh really just doesn't understand is that kind of what you're saying is like, do you get more mad at the person that you're in conflict with, or do you get mad at the person that you thought was your friend that sat by idly and let it happen and didn't stand up for you? Like what Bayleigh really expresses to Kaycee is that she's upset that, if she's her friend and she knew all of this was going on, she didn't come to her, she didn't defend her name, she didn't stand up to her, she didn't comfort her. But what Bayleigh doesn't realize is that those actions are in conflict of, her having this alliance with Tyler. And so Kaycee can't explain any of why she's doing the things that she's doing, because it's blatant lies. And now, when Tyler and Bayleigh were kind of in the same area of, strategy, then it was all good that she had relationships with both of them. But when it came to the point where she had to pretend to still be this person's friend, but really not on her side anymore, she just doesn't know how to play it. And so, I mean, Bayleigh's got lots of time to cool off, so it ultimately might not end up being a factor, but there really is something that cuts more deep to the person that you thought was more of your friend, and that they just left you out to dry. That is the kind of stuff that really, a person with deep emotions feels a lot more than, her anger at Tyler, for what he said to her and how he handled that.
Yes, so Bayleigh is gone. And Kaycee is going to again receive a rating of 7.25. Again, very consistent here. And we're going to go into week 7, where Haleigh wins the HOH. She initially wants to nominate Kaycee and Sam, again, following through with what she had talked about before, where she really just wants to put Kaycee up on the block. And she also hates Sam, so she would love to put Sam up on the block as well. Actually, with potentially Kaycee as, she kind of wants to target Sam. She might also want to target Kaycee. But, of course, we know that Sam would have left in that instance. But Rockstar ends up convincing her, no, not Sam, Kaycee and Angela. Haleigh doesn't really want to nominate Angela. She actually feels kind of good about Angela. But Rockstar ends up really winning the day here with Haleigh and convincing her to go with Kaycee and Angela. Kaycee does not end up really doing much campaigning. She does agree to help Tyler not be nominated, but doesn't really end up talking to Haleigh much prior to being nominated herself. She does plan with Tyler and Angela that okay, so if one of us wins the hacker competition, they all agreed we're going to nominate Rockstar, and then of course she is going to win a very key competition here, the hacker competition, where she's able to take herself off the block. She could have been in some danger here without this hacker win. Certainly one of her or Angela would have been going home this week if this hadn't happened. I think, let's try and play this out. If Kaycee doesn't win the hacker competition, maybe Tyler still gets picked to play in the veto. Maybe Tyler still wins the veto. He probably uses it on Angela still because they feel like they can get Sam's vote for Kaycee. Haleigh can't put up Tyler. Didn't really want to anyway. She doesn't want to put up Brett. She probably puts up maybe Sam? She would put up Brett. She'd put up either Sam, JC, or Brett. Probably not Brett. So probably JC or Sam, and then JC or Sam would probably go home there. So probably not in too much danger, but certainly in danger of losing a number. So it's definitely still very important that she wins that hacker competition. She ends up taking herself off the block, replacing herself with Rockstar. She chooses Tyler to play in the veto because she knows that Tyler will have a better chance of winning the veto than she will. Little does she know. Granted, she did play in that veto and she did lose, but Haleigh knows that it was Kaycee that won the hacker competition. She could kind of hear some celebration going on in the next room, and she also saw the cameras following Kaycee. So she has a pretty good idea that Kaycee is the one that wins it. She tries to confront Kaycee about it. Kaycee is going to deny it in Kaycee's kind of like I'm in confrontation way, which just makes Haleigh even more sure that it was Kaycee, and she really gets annoyed with Kaycee and her response, and to the point where she really wants to send Kaycee home this week if she can. She wants to renom Kaycee if she has the ability to. Rockstar is also very pissed off about this whole situation. Rockstar is convinced that Kaycee won the hacker competition and put her on the block. She thinks it was a really cowardly move, so she confronts Kaycee about this. Again, more confrontation, not really handled particularly well. They get into a pretty big argument about it, where Rockstar calls her a coward. What a cowardly move, Amon.
I just think it's a bitch ass move. Welcome to Big Brother. That's all. This is where we start to. This is where she gets tested. I mean, she gets put on the block. She's able to save herself. Proving that she can win a competition when she needs to. That's good. That's good on your resume. But now you have to deal with people coming at you for winning. Now you have to deal with the target of being someone that can win competitions. How do you do that? Honestly, I'm not even. Does it all just come down to Kaycee just has to be a better liar? Because obviously she shouldn't just tell them, "Hey, yeah, I won it," and what, because what does that get her? You know what I mean? What does being honest in the situation get her? Because they're gonna be upset with her regardless. She put up Rockstar, so the damage has been done. She saved herself. She put up somebody else. So really, it just comes. For me, I think it's just like Kaycee. She just has to be better at confrontation. She has to be she has to be able to play it cool at all times. You can't just play it cool when you're safe. When you're on the block, or if you win and now you have like this bit of a target on you, now it's really time for you to be like, I really didn't win the hack. I'm glad that I'm not on the block anymore, but it wasn't me. Like I did not do this. But she can't do that.
Yeah, something that I really noticed about Kaycee throughout the season, looking back at it, was that she's good when the times are good, but when it comes to facing adversity, again, like it's really that rigid approach to Big Brother. Like when she faces adversity, she doesn't really have the flexibility to handle it well. But it doesn't really matter too much throughout the game because things are going well for most of the game. And a large part of that is Tyler behind the scenes. Doing a lot of stuff, and I also want to be clear. I'm not mentioning a lot of the like a lot of what Tyler is doing, and that's because Kaycee is unaware of a lot of what Tyler is doing for many of these weeks. He does keep her in the loop in the first couple of weeks, and then toward the end of the season as well. But with these weeks, for the most part, he's keeping level 6 somewhat in the loop about what he's doing, but obviously there's a lot that he's doing that he's keeping from all of them, including Kaycee. Just to make that clear, that's why I'm not talking about Tyler, which would also increase the length of this even more than it already is with other people's moves, which would not be interesting to anyone, I don't think. So Tyler is going to win the veto here. Kaycee agrees that yes, I should be the one on the block this week. Angela should come down and I should go up because I have a better chance of getting Sam's vote to stay than Angela does. And so again, team player. She has there is no concept of individual game for Kaycee beyond hopefully I get to the final 2 and win sitting next to Tyler. This is all about the team, and for the team, she feels like she has the better shot to go up against Rockstar in the nomination chairs. I know that Brent was very unhappy with this decision, but there's again some merit to it. There's always some merit to this sort of team player mentality. So she is in fact going to go up on the block after Haleigh talks to her, and or sorry, that's a little bit, that's later. So she is going to go up on the block here after Tyler uses the veto. Tyler, the infamous bathtub pitch happens here that they did leave out of the episodes, which is very annoying.
Not even on the recap. Come on.
And in that bathtub pitch, Haleigh and Rockstar talk about how much they hate Angela and Kaycee. They're the worst. They've done nothing all season long. Oh my God, Tyler, they deserve to go home. They don't deserve anything in this game. So that's like, tell me how you really feel, Haleigh and Rockstar. So she is going to end up going up on the block next to Rockstar. She pretends to be upset about this, but she's actually acting. So that's what's going on there with Kaycee, Jenny.
Yeah, I actually I remember doing the recap after this day, and I remember saying that I did not find Kaycee's acting to be that impressive, but Rockstar is the perfect recipient, because Rockstar is very deluded at this point into thinking that, you know, she definitely is a lock here and that Kaycee is going to go, but Rockstar plays up being like, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Like, you might not go. Like, oh my God. And it's like, it's pretty cringeworthy all around, because like I'm cringing for Rockstar, but I'm also cringing at Kaycee's like acting, because I feel like, I don't know. I mean, from my view, I know exactly what's going on, so it's very transparent to me. But I suppose that if you're on the receiving end, maybe it's not quite as terrible. But I do think that this was an extremely big risk for Kaycee to take, this whole taking one for the team, because yes, she is the one that is more likely to get Sam's vote than Angela, but
you're on the block.
Sam loves Rockstar, and like that, and we've seen after the Bayleigh vote, like Kaycee sees firsthand how emotional Sam is, and that this is, as we've mentioned, that she's starting to drift away from Sam because she realizes that there's only so much control you have over her, and she's a bit volatile, and she votes with her heart, and if she voted against her team to keep Bayleigh, like now Bayleigh's gone and she loves Rockstar, and this isn't a good situation. This is probably one of the least people that you want to be on the block next, if you're worried about Sam being a swing vote. So it is one of the bigger risks that Kaycee takes in the game for the name of the team, and it obviously like works out, and it if it is going to work out, you can see why she makes that decision. But this is where she puts her individual game on the line for the team, and it's quite a big move. Yeah. It works out, but it's kind of scary.
I always hate it. I hate it when any Big Brother player is like, I'll do it. I'll go on the block. Because like a lot of the times it never ever works out in your favor. Like if you are playing the game of Big Brother, there's like really just one main rule: do not get evicted. So why put yourself in a position where that you have the potential to be evicted? And I always hate that even if you do have the numbers, like, I mean, like you just said, you're relying on people that are not necessarily reliable. And so I don't know, like if you're gonna be the team player, Kaycee, well then at least rely on the people that are on your team, not the crazy lady.
Yeah, she's relying on Sam and JC essentially. If Sam and JC decide to flip, then she's in trouble. And Tyler is the one saying, "Don't worry, I've got it covered. I've got Sam and JC. They're gonna vote to keep you." And so Kaycee feels good about that. Kaycee doesn't even really do much of the work with Sam. Tyler is gonna make sure that Sam votes to keep Kaycee. He tells Kaycee she's gonna vote to keep you, but don't talk to her about it because she might freak out or something. So Rockstar is going to be evicted over Kaycee by a vote of 5-1. Rockstar leaves feeling not great about Kaycee, feeling like maybe she's a little bit of a coward for the hacker move that she did, but likely does not matter. Once again, according to the jury segments, and also I think demographically, I think that Rockstar is definitely a lock vote here for Kaycee in the final two if it comes down to that. This week, Kaycee's average rating is going to drop pretty significantly to a 5.75, and that is mostly because Brent decided to give her a 4 this week. Very mad at her for allowing herself to go up on the block.
I mean, it's not a good. I can understand. Like, you shouldn't really be allowing yourself to go up on the block if you have some agency, but
especially, I mean, because sure, yeah, I mean, results oriented, everything worked out, but I think it kind of says something about that type of player that was willing to do something like that, especially after you just got yourself off and now you're going right back. It's like, will you do that in the future and then get evicted? Like if I haven't said it already, I hate when people do that. It's just like, don't throw your game.
Well, right, and this is again like this is the killer instinct thing, and she is going to put herself in situations like this moving forward, throughout the game. It does work out for her, but this is if we're talking about like the obviously this is a very different season recap than the Tyler one where we're looking for like where are all the flaws. Obviously we're kind of talking around like a lot of the big flaws in Kaycee's game. I think the major one is her willingness to put herself in these kinds of situations where she very, very well could be evicted, and it's going to get worse as the season progresses. But again, it's a double-edged sword.
Well, and it's one of those things where like you go on the block once, you show that you're willing to, do it and you handle it well. Like that's the thing is she does handle her, half a week on the block next to Rockstar very well. And it ends up kind of making her an easy person to put up as a pawn, or a replacement nominee if needed later on, because, you're not angering a new person who hasn't been on the block. You're not putting up a JC or a Tyler who hasn't really spent any time on the block. She's shown herself as someone who's willing to, handle her shit properly and not cause any waves. And while that's great for your allies, it's an easy way out for people to use you, as a pawn later on. And that doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Devon tweeted something about during BB19. She said something on Twitter. It was like, never let anybody in the house know what it's like for you to not be in the house. And I think it's kind of the same thing with the block. Like, don't give people don't let them know what that feels like, because it's just they're going to keep going back to that. I mean, it's the proverbial, I don't want to get any blood on my hands. So they just they dilute the blood until it's just water.
Yes, and that is exactly what's going to happen in the next week as Fessy wins the HOH. He does not want to put Kaycee up on the block initially because he wants to make a big move, and Kaycee is a waste. He does not respect Kaycee. But the whole F it was me thing happens. Brett tries to claim to be the vote. This is, of course, again, one of Kaycee's weaker moments here, where she gets very angry with Scottie for believing that he voted for her to stay, and everyone's been acting weird toward me. I've always been close with you. I don't talk with him. Really like backing Brett up in an argument against Scottie, where Scottie's trying to claim that he voted against her and she doesn't believe him. She thinks that he voted for her, and it's just as we talked about, Tyler was like, that was kind of weird. That didn't really make any sense. But it doesn't matter because JC is going to swoop in. Scottie is really going to fall asleep at the wheel. And this is going to happen regardless. But man, I remember watching this like, Kaycee, you're screwing this up. This is amazing stuff and you're going to ruin it. You're going to ruin it, Amon.
Oscar winning performance. Give it all to her. That was so infuriating. And at this point, I'm still I've been rooting for Tyler since the beginning of the season. So in that respect, I was like, okay, whatever. But I still kind of had like that underdog, that underdog push for the Hive or whatever the hell they were called at the time. And I was just like, oh my God, like, how can you guys not, Fessy, how can you not look at this situation and see this is a lie. This is, if you look in the dictionary, this scenario is right there. Like, no one ever gets upset about somebody for voting for them. I mean, I'm like, oh, Kaycee.
Yeah. And Taras in the chat says correctly, Kaycee's worst moment in the season, and she was very proud of it. She feels like this is one of her best moments of the season. Yikes. Yes. She does have a conversation with Fessy, as Vanessa points out, where Fessy essentially, like, before Kaycee can even say anything, is like, so you reacted this way because of this, right? And luckily all she has to be was like, yes. And he's like, okay, good. It's like, okay, we're good. He does tell her he won't be nominating her. However, she is the plan as the replacement nominee if somebody wins the veto, which of course does happen. Brett wins the veto, and Haleigh is going to let Kaycee know, hey, you're going to be, or at the very least, you might be the replacement nominee here. But don't worry, I'm going to be voting to keep you. We're voting Scottie out. So Haleigh really trying to do some damage control here now. She apologizes for how the week went down when she was HOH. She wishes that she had handled it differently. Obviously, Rockstar left on her HOH, so she's got a lot of work to do. So Haleigh really tries to work on Kaycee to bond with her, and they do. They start to bond a little bit, and once again, somebody is approaching Kaycee. They're taking the initiative. They want to bond with Kaycee, and Kaycee is open to that, and she's able to handle it well, and they do bond a bit. Even as Kaycee is nominated as the replacement nominee. So she will be sitting up on the block for the second week in a row, come eviction night, and that's where we're going to leave Kaycee for the week, apart from one conversation with Tyler. Jenny.
They have another check-in, and they reiterate being each other. They kind of talk about how they're both individually close with Angela, but they have a check-in where they are, reaffirming that they're each other's number one, despite being close with Angela. Obviously, this is a theme that will continue for the rest of the game.
Yes, this is
the first time they acknowledge each other's mutual closeness with Angela, but that they're still each other's number one.
Yes. So for a while, Tyler has been kind of just letting Kaycee hang out, not really informing her about what's going on separately, not really reaffirming the final two deal. I think this is around when Tyler talks about how actually, like, you know what? I think I might want Kaycee in the final two over even JC. And so he starts talking to Kaycee more this week. This is when they start to really come back together. This is also like, because JC starts to hound him about his Angela relationship. And so he's getting annoyed with JC, and he's like, okay, let me go over to Kaycee maybe then. Maybe this is the better option. I really am not happy with what JC is doing. And also he's worried that Kaycee might get worried about his relationship with Angela in the same way that JC is worried. So he checks in with Kaycee. He's like, hey, are you worried about my relationship with Angela? She's like, nah. He's like, cool. All right. We're good. You and me, right. Screw JC. And so Kaycee's like, you have some feelings for her, I can tell. And he's like, what? No, shut up. Maybe a little bit. And she's like, it's fine. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I will still choose you over Angela. And Tyler says, oh yeah, totally same. We're good. All right. So this is really the start of what we see now, like the deep Tyler Kaycee connection, which had kind of drifted a bit for a while, really gets solidified here before Scottie's eviction. And then Scottie is evicted unanimously, leaving feeling like Kaycee hasn't really done much in the game. Not much respect for Kaycee on his first time leaving the game. And Kaycee has a rating of 5.5 this week. Brent still very low, still very mad at Kaycee for the week before, and Melissa has also gone down on Kaycee's game this week. So it's gone down to a 5.5.
I mean, to be fair, Kaycee again, agrees to take one for the team to go up as the replacement.
Yes,
obviously obviously they feel pretty good about Scottie going out here, but again, like, this is a risky move for Kaycee because she's on the block next to someone that is actually supposed to be in an alliance with the HOH and his, sort of showmance. And it's a terrible move for them. And they're lucky that Fessy is so dumb that he, that he makes this move, and that Scottie doesn't help himself whatsoever in terms of getting them back on his side. Like, this is not a person that you want to be sitting on the block next to, because this could have backfired if Fessy had a couple of brain cells that could have rubbed together at any point. But
yeah.
Oh God, the Fessy fans are gonna come after me. My account's gonna get deactivated later. Sorry.
All right, we head into week 9 where Angela is going to win the HOH. Kaycee is going to agree with the rest of level 6 that Angela should be nominating Haleigh and Fessy straight up on the block. She suggests that Angela make a deal with Sam. JC is this is going to be the start of where JC says, we have to target Angela and Kaycee. We need them separated. We don't want to go to the end with Angela and Kaycee anymore. We want to go to the end with Haleigh and Sam. Those are the people we should be taking to the end. JC not on board with the Kaycee plan anymore. After being nominated, Haleigh and Fessy say that they would love to vote for Kaycee to win in the end because they want to be very bitter and they feel like she's done nothing all season. She would be the biggest joke if she won. So they would love to give Kaycee the win because they're feeling very bitter in this moment. That's a conversation that they have, which I guess implies how they feel about Kaycee's game at this point in time. Who knows if they end up feeling that way still. I certainly Fessy did not respect Kaycee while he was in the game, and he's going to leave feeling like Kaycee has done nothing, and finally won a competition. Finally won a competition.
Just wait.
So Kaycee is going to win the veto, that competition that she wins. Angela wonders to Kaycee, do you think Tyler had that second power app? Kaycee says, absolutely not. He would have told us. Fessy says, Fessy tries to get Kaycee to use the veto. Doesn't work. Kaycee is a brick wall. Kaycee's got the boulders up when it comes to, especially Fessy. After the veto isn't used, Haleigh starts looking for assurances from people. She knows that Fessy's going to leave this week, and she needs reassurance that she's going to stay. Kaycee is the person that she turns to the most. She wants Kaycee to be her new person. She needs to latch onto somebody. She feels like Kaycee is the person that she can work with the most easily. Again, I think she's hoping that she can pick up Kaycee as a number. Like that perception is especially now is sort of there where it's she's trying to ingratiate herself both with Angela and Kaycee, but more so with Kaycee because Kaycee's going to be easier to work with than Angela.
That worked so well for Bayleigh.
Right. Essentially the exact same trap that Bayleigh fell into. And so they really start to bond a bit there. Angela and Kaycee become very confident that they have Haleigh convinced to target Sam instead of any of level 6, including Tyler. And they do still want Haleigh to leave next, even though they are bonding with her a bit. So Tyler is also going to try to warn Kaycee, hey, JC and Brett, they're starting to make trouble. But Casey's like, no, we're good. We're good. Don't worry about it.
We're solid.
Don't worry about
it. It's a team.
Yeah.
They're still on our team, so they're not going to betray us.
Yes. So Fessy's going to be evicted by a vote of 4-1. And Kaycee is going to receive back up to where she was before, a rating of 6.75. Her time on the block is done for now, and they're all starting to win a bunch of these competitions. So back up to its normal sort of range here, Aman.
Yeah, seemingly seamless. She is able to. I mean, the position is good. She's getting information from Tyler, even though she doesn't necessarily think that it's anything to worry about. So she's still sort of like in the know about things that directly affect her. And now she's able to use her win to foster this new relationship with Haleigh, so that in the case that Haleigh does win an HOH, that she will not be the person that is in her crosshair. So she's staying above the fray. This is going to be the beginning of her winning streak. We're going to see Kaycee really sort of take flight, as it were, and get to the end of this game. So as the rating should be going up for her at this point. I think that she really starts to increase her winner's equity in the latter half of the game. So.
Like every week that she doesn't get sniped out of the game because she's not like keeping herself protected is another week where she gets closer to the end game, where she might be able to win out, where she might be able to win against a jury that is emotionally charged against the person that she's sitting next to, which is in fact going to be Tyler. So the rating is going up, and I think that is going to be reflected here for the most part. So Scottie is going to battle his way back into the house. Tyler's going to win HOH. He's going to tell Kaycee, hey, it's a repeat week. And it is a repeat week where Tyler's going to talk to Kaycee more about, hey, Brett and JC, they're turning on us. Kaycee says, nope. Kaycee wins the veto again. She has the same conversations with Haleigh again. She has the same conversations where she reaffirms her bond with Tyler again. Her and Level 6 plan on blindsiding Scottie. So they're not going to tell Scottie about anything. And then Tyler's going to say again, hey, seriously though, Brett, I keep hearing about this. He's coming for us. And Kaycee says, nah, he's locked in. We're good. We're level 6. And Scottie's going to be evicted unanimously. There was almost a flip, but Kaycee was not part of really much of it. She does talk to Brett, and there was a fight between Brett and Haleigh, which was one of the causes of the flip, a potential flip, and she does calm Brett down a bit with Angela, so she is a little bit involved there, but for the most part, very, very samey week from the week previously. Scottie's going to be evicted unanimously. He leaves feeling this time that Kaycee is a hypocrite, that she claims to be above the fray, but she's just as dirty as the rest of them, and but the only difference is that she's not even playing very well. So he does not leave feeling great about about Kaycee. But we also know that from jury segments that he feels very betrayed personally by Tyler. So could go either way, in my opinion. This week, 7.25 for Kaycee. Again, slowly going up here. Slowly on the rise, Jenny.
Yeah, with each win, we see the dangers of her as a comp threat, and as we've seen in other seasons, if you get far enough, you can win out. And like we alluded to earlier, that is something that certain people really respect, and especially if you get to the end with someone that you maybe had similar game as, or you were in the same alliance as, being able to point to those wins is sometimes very productive. So just kind of like what Aman was saying, that with each win, her win equity for the entire game goes up. So this makes sense.
Yes. So then Kaycee is going to win her first HOH, and she is going to nominate Sam and Haleigh. There's not much discussion about it. This was planned from long before. She has a conversation with Haleigh where Haleigh's like, you have me. You have me. You have me. And she's like, I got you. I know. You're going on the block anyway, though. She has a conversation with Sam where she lets Sam know she's going up on the block. Sam's like, yeah, that's fine. JC is the plan as the replacement if needed. Tyler is again going to warn her, hey, this Brett thing, it's really building up steam. I really feel like something's going to happen here. She goes, nope, he's locked in. He's level 6, guy. What are you talking about? Kaycee wants Sam to leave before JC next week. JC tells Tyler that he sees Kaycee as a follower. He thinks that she's dumb. He thinks that they should bring her to the end if Haleigh leaves. He would rather bring Haleigh and Sam, but maybe they should bring Kaycee and Sam. He certainly does not want Angela in the end. Kaycee is going to win the veto. She's not going to use it. She's going to say, hey, I never used any of the other vetoes, and I'm respecting the HOH's wishes. Kaycee, again, is gonna, Tyler really, going back and like looking at all this, Tyler really, like, a lot of people were doubting that Tyler was willing to turn on Brett, but oh my God, he talked about this a lot with Kaycee. Brett is turning on us. We need to target Brett. She still doesn't think so until finally Brett comes to Tyler and tells him, we need to take out Angela and Kaycee. In fact, I want to take Kaycee out because, JC hates Angela. So if we take Kaycee out next week, then we're solid. And Tyler goes, sure. Yeah, I'm down with that. He runs it up to Kaycee. He tells Kaycee, hey, Brett is not only targeting Angela and you, he's targeting you specifically. And finally, Kaycee's like, oh,
let's go.
Let's get him out of here. And so they come up with a plan. They talk to Angela. They come up with a plan to evict Brett from the house. She's also going to keep Haleigh in the dark about her plans about the eviction. She's not going to let her know that she's going to be evicted. And she also is going to leave a goodbye message to Haleigh, blaming Brett for her eviction, which is obviously a lie. But Haleigh is going to believe it in the moment, at least, after she is evicted unanimously. Aman.
Yes, this is when he is uninvited to Texas A&M because he is the reason that she is going home. Yeah, finally, Kaycee is like, okay. I mean, it's like, I guess she just needed to hear the magic words. And she's gonna like, it's weird that like the person that she trusts the most have been telling her this the entire time, but she just couldn't see. I mean, I guess she got so used to winning now that it's kind of like, it's kind of like you don't even need to be HOH to have HOH-itis, in my opinion. Like if you like win competitions, if you win vetoes, then you just feel like, because you're safe. Like it's like, okay, then even if Brett is kind of coming after me, like what's he gonna do? I got the veto. So like as soon as Tyler did tell her that, good for her that she finally was like, okay, well then this is something that we need to actually take care of. I think once Haleigh was out, once like pretty much the last person that was sort of standing, that was definitely 100% opposite side of the house, no, like really no chance of working with them, even though Haleigh kept saying, you know what, I'm good, like I can be a number for you. Like we knew it was never really going to happen. Kaycee knew it was never really going to happen. And I think that finally with her gone, it opens up her perspective to be like, okay, this is Brett, okay, we'll have to deal with him now because obviously he's coming after me, he's coming after you, coast to coast, let's go. So
yeah, and she did not feel bad about the Brett eviction. She's as soon as she found out that Brett was coming for her, she turned fast. She started talking. She never liked Brett. He never got along with them. He never fit in with them. Just no issue with the feelings with the Brett eviction, which is part of why she wanted to blame Brett for in Haleigh's goodbye message. I do think that is likely one of the things that is going to backfire here for Haleigh, who does leave the game believing in Kaycee's goodbye message, saying that she's rooting for a Kaycee win. However, in the jury segment, she's talking a lot about Tyler. I have to imagine that maybe Haleigh found out, oh, Kaycee was lying to you in her goodbye message. That might have something to do with why she's talking Tyler up. However, we don't know for sure that that's the truth because let's be real, Haleigh and Edits do not get along very well. Or maybe they get along too well. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
So Kaycee's rating this week is going to bump up just a slight bit more to a 7.5. People are really starting to anticipate that Kaycee is the number 2 contender for the win here, as she is second only to Tyler. So we head into the double eviction. You guys know the drill. Tyler wins HOH. He nominates JC and Sam. Kaycee obviously was involved in the planning of this, but doesn't have much to do in it because she doesn't end up winning any of these competitions. Angela's going to win the veto. She's going to use it on JC. Brett is going to go up on the block. Brett is going to leave unanimously. He leaves, ending up saying that he feels like Kaycee is playing the best game because she has no blood on her hands. And so that is what he's saying in his exit interviews. So that's interesting to track, whether or not that's a sort of, gut sort of emotional response from being evicted, or if he genuinely feels that way toward the end when he casts his vote. I'm not sure. Jenny, what do you think?
Well, I mean, in this Brett eviction, like Kaycee literally is the one person, I mean, besides Sam, who is kind of a non-factor, but Kaycee's the one person that didn't really do him dirty here. You know, Tyler, you know, Angela uses the veto on JC, and the one step ahead, two step ahead thing happens. And we see when he gets, you know, when the votes are read, he looks at JC, and he even feels, you know, betrayed by JC in this moment. There's nothing, he really doesn't feel like Kaycee owed him anything here, and that she didn't really, you know, really have anything to do with this. And he also knows that he was coming after her. So she's kind of the beneficiary of this move, and truly doesn't have any blood on her hands in this scenario.
It's funny. It's funny because like I feel like this is a spot where she, like, not winning the competition was very, very beneficial for Kaycee, because she absolutely would have done the same speech of like one step ahead. Right. But like, because she lost the veto competition, the one veto competition she loses from like the final 8 on is the one that she really needed to potentially lose in order to really retain Brett's good feelings. But sorry, continue, Jen.
Sorry, and I was just going to say, to further what you just said, that speech does not play well coming from Kaycee. I mean, it's not a great look from Angela, but Angela already has this image in the house as being a lot more close, a lot less emotional, the ice queen. You know, Kaycee really relies on being a lot more of, you know, like a more sympathetic figure. And, you know, I just think that we see the times where Kaycee gets defensive and kind of gets sassy. Like, it's just kind of, it really just seems so awkward. And so, you know, if Kaycee is the one that wins this veto here and makes that move and says the exact same thing that Angela says, I just think it plays so much worse. And so she really does dodge a bullet by not being involved in this whatsoever.
Yeah. If Kaycee ends up winning this game, we might look back at this veto and say, if she won this veto, she might lose the game. It could be that close. Like, that could be the thing.
And it'd be great if, like, you know, she purposely was like, you know what, I'm going to let them take care of this because it's not in my...
Yeah.
We know that she probably would have, you know, fought, like she wasn't throwing that veto, and that she fully would have gone and just done that same thing. So this was a moment where luck definitely helps Kaycee here. So yeah. And
correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like, because I know that during the double eviction, when I remember after he got named as the replacement nominee, right before the Winston commercial, Brett got up and he like walked to the front of the room and started to converse with the people that he thought was in his alliance. So we didn't really see much of it during the live show, but I know that during, I think it was Sunday's episode, they showed a little bit more of the breakdown of the double. And I don't remember Kaycee really being the one to really talk to Brett about anything. So I mean, even if she didn't win the comp, so that was good on her part. And then I don't even think that she really was the one to really be like, this is why we're doing this, like this. She kind of just stayed, she chilled, and that, I think that's also really good, because, you know, now she doesn't have to, there's nothing for Brett to put on her, because she didn't even say anything. So it's, I mean, I think that in Brett's mind, it really should be easy to put 2 and 2 together and be like obviously she felt the same way. Like there's no way that Kaycee was not involved in this at any capacity. But the fact that she was so passive with it hurts less, because it's, you know, it's you're not the person that's telling me that you're 2 steps ahead of me. So it really does work out well for her, I think.
Yeah, and she really wanted to rub it in his face, but like the circumstance dictated that, like, you know, when Brett leaves the house, it looks like, oh, Tyler and Angela doing the dirty work for Kaycee, because that's just kind of like how it looks when Kaycee doesn't end up winning that competition. So again, like, luck plays a lot in Big Brother, and it's also worth mentioning that in these weeks, all this time that Tyler's trying to warn Kaycee about Brett, he comes less than a second away from winning one of those HOHs. You know, like, a lot of things could have gone wrong here if Brett or JC had won one of these competitions, but of course does not happen. She does not win this veto, so things are still looking pretty good. A 7.5 is what she's going to retain here for the rating. Angela is going to win the next HOH. ROH. She's going to nominate Sam and JC. JC wants Kaycee evicted, but Kaycee ends up winning the veto, so it wouldn't even matter anyway, even if he had any opportunity to do so. Kaycee tells Tyler, hey, Angela, I know Angela's going to take you to the final 2. I don't mind, though. She's essentially, Kaycee's plan is, I want to go to the final 3 with this showman. She doesn't know the extent of their relationship, but she knows that Angela will take Tyler because she has enough feelings, and she knows that Tyler has feelings for Angela, but she does still trust that Tyler will take her over Angela, but she's still willing to go to the end with Angela, who she knows is taking Tyler. Again, this is this sort of like passive gameplay where she's putting herself in a bad spot, but she does end up kind of getting lucky with the competition outcomes in the next week, which we will talk about. She does, again, as I said, end up winning the veto. She doesn't use it. She hasn't before. She's still not going to. This is also she keeps Sam in the dark about her vote. And this is also the week where JC starts working on her, talking about the LGBT final 2. He wants Angela gone. So he's locked into the Kaycee Tyler final 3, and he's trying to start to work Kaycee to maybe hope that he can get her to take him to the end instead of Tyler or whoever else ends up there with him. So that is the quick week here, Aman.
Yeah, I mean, she seemed to like at least give off to JC that she was into that whole final 2 deal with him. I think in this instance it was like really. I think it was really easy for her to sort of give him that impression, especially if he's talking about the LGBT community. I think that's, they've already bonded once before over that subject matter. So I think it was a very natural conversation for her to have. So I guess, right. I mean, now we're at the final. So I guess you can't really give too much credit for actually being able to lie a little bit better. but yeah, I think that she's in a good spot. I mean, JC still wants Angela out of here. She's fine with keeping Angela. Tyler, of course, is going to keep her. Sam, who is Sam? So like, it's just, she's good. It's a good week.
Yes. So Sam is going to be evicted unanimously. Who knows what Sam was thinking? I mean, she was talking about how she wanted Tyler to win before she left to herself. But then after she left, it seemed like she was a little bit mad at Tyler. In the jury segment, it seemed like she was rooting Kaycee on. Kaycee really didn't, like I said, have much of a relationship with Sam toward the end of the game. But she did kind of, just kind of be like, I'm not going to use the veto. I'm not sure where my vote's going to lie. Sam kind of understood what that meant, that Kaycee was going to be voting her out. So I personally am counting Sam as a Kaycee vote, just based on what I saw in the jury segment. It really reminded me a lot of what's her name, the dream board Ashley in Big Brother 14, when Ashley was cheering along with Ashley cheering along with Brittany about Ian, when Ian was winning competitions. You'd see in the jury segments Ashley would be cheering, and this kind of tells you where their vote's gonna go. And so I feel like her vote's gonna go to Kaycee, Jenny.
I totally get the sense in that, but at the same time, I don't get the sense in Sam. So yes. I think that honestly, it could come down to jury questions. What they say in the final 2, how one of them looks at her, how the moon is aligned that day. So it makes sense based on how Sam seems right now, but we're seeing a segment from almost a week before the vote actually takes place. So I think that's part. People like Sam are part of the compelling, reason that this finale is going to be great no matter what, because we truly, there are several people that we truly don't know for sure how they're going to vote. What a wild card. So that is a vote that I'm not putting in either direction, because she's got reason. I can see reason for her voting for either of them.
Yes. I think she'll definitely be a live jury member. We don't really get them too often. But I think that Sam is definitely. I kind of disagree with you too. I think that she still votes for Tyler, and the only reason I think that is because of the fact that she's a live jury member, and I think that really helps Tyler in that situation. I think all Tyler needs to say to her, I can see it already now. Sam being having the question to Tyler and be like, "Why did you betray me here or there or whatever?" And all Tyler would have to do is tell her, Sam, look, I really enjoyed having all this time with you this summer. I was serious when I told you about how I felt about you, and I'm glad that we're friends. That's all he needs to do. And I think that her heart melts again because, I mean, she's always loved Tyler. I mean, she's loved Kaycee too, but she's loved Tyler first, and I think that really will help him out in the end. So I think the vote will go to Tyler.
I think it really does depend on the angles that they use on their speech. If Tyler plays up that, he's a super fan, this is his dream. If he shows a lot of passion and vulnerability in his speech, that's the kind of stuff that is going to pull at Sam's heartstrings and remind her of, the sensitive friend that she saw in him. But I also can see a situation where, Kaycee, talks about being like a strong woman, and if there's any mention of
that would
like
work with Sam.
the but she's a woman that respects herself. No large sweaters.
I don't believe.
She didn't flirt with the boy.
Yeah, I don't believe in the female stuff. I don't think that females should be over males. I think that there are certain places that we should be. That'll really get into. But go ahead.
But if she talks about possibly being like the first lesbian, like openly lesbian woman to win the season. Like I mean, that's more of a Rockstar kind of grab, but Sam likes to see people sort of vulnerable and showing themselves. And so I really just think it depends on how they present themselves in the final two. I do think that Tyler has an edge here though, because I don't think that based on how the Angela eviction goes, I don't feel like either of them are extremely good at speaking, but I do think that Tyler has a better chance of, properly articulating, reasons that he should win. Whereas I can see kind of Kaycee just shouting a lot of, this was my ride or die, and I don't know. I just really think that, like we've said, she's a live vote, and it does come down to how they handle the questions, and if they seem humble and if they seem appreciative. I do think that Tyler does have a bit of an edge because she seemed more loyal to him than her the entire time.
Yeah, I do think something to consider as well, though, is that Bayleigh and Rockstar will have a lot of influence over her vote. She really, Rockstar had a lot of influence over her in the house, and she talked a lot about how much she loved Bayleigh, especially in her exit interviews. And she obviously, the one time she went against Tyler was when she voted to keep Bayleigh around. So I think that if she is a live vote, it's only because she has been separated from the Rockstar and Bayleigh influence for a few days in sequester. So it's interesting to think about, but different opinions all around here. So JC is going to end up winning the final 4 HOH, and this was both potentially really good and potentially really bad for Kaycee, because Kaycee very nearly left in the final 4. If Angela had won that veto, Kaycee would have been gone. If Tyler had won that veto, we don't know. But she could have been gone. But it turned out well because she did win the final 4 veto, and she would have lost this final 4 veto if it had been the regular final 4 veto. She's not great at the questions. She got really lucky that this was a ball competition. I think that is something to consider a little bit here. But she does end up winning this one, which turns out to be the best case scenario because it removes Angela from the equation. Angela, who had, I think, given the fact that JC came less than 40 seconds away from beating Kaycee in part 2 of the final 3 HOH competition, I think Angela definitely would have beaten Kaycee, or at least definitely had a very good chance to beat Kaycee in part 2, which would have meant that Kaycee would have had a really hard time making it to the final 2 and the final 3 if it was Tyler versus Angela in part 3. So this turns out to be a very fortunate outcome for Kaycee. She wins the veto. She ends up evicting Angela, JC is trying to persuade her into doing that, but she was going to do it anyway. She evicts Angela, and she's now in the final 3. Aman.
She did it. I mean, she this is what she said that she was going to do. and she won that last. She's one of those players that is good at winning the comp that you need to win. And I just think that we've seen that time and time again with her. And yeah, I really don't have much else to say about this week. I think it was pretty straightforward. What was going to happen if she didn't win, she was going to go. If Angela won, she was going to go. So she did what she said she was going to do.
Yeah, and you know, this is something that Eric Stein has talked about a little bit, of like just like the competitions that they're doing, and the competition that Kaycee has had in the competitions. Definitely something to look at, that this year has been very unique in the sense that a lot of the competitions that Kaycee has won have been very similar. They've involved balls and coordination and very little questions, which is very different than the normal style of Big Brother competitions. If this had been different, if this had been the normal style of competitions, then this really might have had a different outcome here. I feel like the final four is Kaycee's worst week of the entire game. This was very bad for her. You know, she had to luck into a JC win for the HOH, and then herself win the veto in order to get the correct final three for her, where she can make it to the end. And even then, she still plans on taking Tyler, and she would have taken Tyler over Angela. There's a lot of holes that we can poke in Kaycee's game here toward the end, but it may work out, and it may be fine. So, you know, we don't have to spend too much time poking holes, right, Jenny?
I mean, ultimately she's gotten herself there, and you know, the what ifs kind of just become irrelevant, because
in terms of analyzing her entire game, yeah.
But I mean, if she's going to win, it's going to have something to do with how, like, the relationships that she made with people in the jury and how they view her. And so, you know, good for her. You have to hand it to her. There's always an element of luck to this, and yeah, we can say that she got lucky with how you know, the final four shakes out, but she gets herself there, you know, by her own volition, I guess, and we'll see how she handles being in the final two. That's her last opportunity to you know, use her social game to try and get her that win, and I honestly think it's very, very possible.
Definitely very possible. So we go to the final week. It's the final three. Tyler's going to win part one. Kaycee's going to win part two. It's Tyler versus Kaycee in part three. We're going to watch it tomorrow night on the finale of Big Brother 20. They should be taking each other. And the audience currently is predicting, with the 7 votes on the jury right now, that it's going to be, there is 8 votes, but they weren't predicting Angela's, that it's going to be a 4-3 break for Tyler. That I believe Bayleigh, Rockstar, and I believe they predicted Haleigh as being a vote for Kaycee as well. Those 3. But obviously, I think that's going to change. We are going to have the roundtable tonight, where we will do more jury predictions with all of the jury members. So we'll get an updated tally for the roundtable tonight. That should be fun. But so she's going to be in all likelihood up against Tyler in the final 2, and it's really just going to come down to the jury votes, and you know, what this jury decides to go with. I do think it seems like she has Rockstar and Bayleigh locked in, you know, for whatever reason. She might get Sam as well. She might get Brett. That veto thing could have been a factor there. It's definitely going to be interesting to try and analyze why the votes went the way that they did. I am definitely not the kind of person that likes to say, well, if they went this way, then it must have been for whatever reason. Like I like to try and examine, like, what was it? Was it that she lost the final 5 veto, or the final 6 veto, the double eviction veto? Was it that you know, was it that Rockstar just didn't want to vote a different way? You know, was it, you know, for whatever reason? Was it because she fostered relationships with people? You know, at the very least, you can say that she fostered one with Bayleigh and with Haleigh. She didn't really socialize outside of those two, except for the people in level 6. But her, one thing that I talked about with Nicole's game in season 18 was that in not socializing with people outside of her circle, it left them the ability to assume things about her game that weren't true, which might end up happening with Kaycee. That's kind of what we were seeing in the jury segments. So I think that's something to really consider about playing the game, is that you don't always have to socialize with everyone. Yes, it leaves you vulnerable to being evicted, but if you don't get evicted, they might assume good things about your game when it comes to the jury vote. So it's just, there's going to be plenty of room for analysis when we wrap this game up, Aman.
Oh yeah, I'm very, very, very excited. Because I don't think that you get these types of final twos that often. So they're both. I think that their games are very. I don't know if equal is the right word. It's just, because if Tyler wins this last HOH, then he will be tied with Kaycee for I think it's 7 comp wins. So then the comp wins kind of don't matter anymore. Then it all becomes a conversation about relationships and who betrayed who the most, and
also luck. There's a lot of luck involved in the jury vote. Yeah.
Right. And the fact that the both of them are part of the same alliance, and they're going to be telling everybody else that this was our plan mutually to take each other to the end, and we beat all of you, not just me, Kaycee, or not just me, Tyler. We as a unit, we beat all of you. So you're not going to be able to hurt this alliance because we're here. You know what I mean? So I'm very, it'll be interesting. I honestly think we're going to get another 5-4 type deal situation, and maybe it comes down to Bayleigh, maybe it comes down to Sam. I don't know. It's very exciting. I think that after a season's worth of blindsides and drama, and I think that this is probably going to be shaping up to be a very good ending. Yeah. I'm hoping so.
So just to look back at the season here, Kaycee entered the game. She wanted to play a low-key, loyal game, and she did that. Like I said, very passively. There wasn't really, I can't point to a single thing where she took the initiative upon herself to go and do something. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It does leave her vulnerable, but it also let her be more of an asset to the people who were running the game. So that worked. That kind of, in some ways, worked in her favor. In some ways, worked against her. She pretty much stuck to socializing with level 6. The 2 times she branched out were with Bayleigh and with Haleigh. If you don't count JC and Sam, who she would occasionally chat with, then she really just she was somebody who said, point me in the direction, I'll go, I won't screw it up for you. And that worked for her. She, for the most part, she wasn't really involved in what Tyler was doing. This was not actually a hitman situation where Derek was bouncing ideas off of Cody every night. They were coming up with plans together. This was a lot more of Tyler just kind of doing his own thing, talking with JC about a lot of their plans. For the most part, Kaycee was just kind of the person he let get in the back seat kind of deal. So she just kind of rode along and turned out to be the better option for him to take to the end, which worked out very well for her. She does benefit from a lot of Tyler's machinations, although sometimes she is left vulnerable because of them. And she is going to tie the record for veto wins in a single season, and things are going to break her way at the end game, which is, again, I talk about this all the time, of just a person that is naturally suited in Big Brother to do decently well. Things break your way, you could win the game, and I think that's what we're looking at in terms of Kaycee. It does not mean that she played poorly. I do believe that if Tyler won, he would be a different caliber of winner than if Kaycee won, but that does not mean that Kaycee does not deserve to win the game. She has played a perfectly good game. I think that she would be probably, there are 20 winners, or there will be close to 20 winners. I think she'd probably be in, close to the, maybe like the 12 spots, somewhere along those lines if she won. There are a lot of good winners, so that's not terrible. She's definitely not, I think, in the sort of like the Josh, certainly not in the like the twisted, like she is not that. So, I think that, we do not have to worry about anything regarding that. So that's really Kaycee's game across the season, and there you go. That's look at that. I managed to make this one long too.
I mean, we had a little bit of yesterday's recap, so
That's true.
maybe add a little bit to it. We can pull this out if we need to. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly just really hope that. Because I agree that they're both deserving winners. I just really hope that if Tyler does an incredible job tomorrow night, and it seems that the vote doesn't go for him out of spite, that will hurt a little bit. I don't have a horse in this race. Like, I personally, I think that I honestly, like, I think that Tyler's an incredible player, and but not perfect by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see the value in a player like Kaycee, and I don't think that it's going to be a bad season or a bad ending if she wins.
Right.
Tomorrow is my birthday, so my birthday
Hey!
win is I don't care about a certain person winning. I want a good finale, and I want to feel good about how the final two handles their questions. I want good questions to be asked. I just want an entertaining finale, and I want to feel like the final two do a good job of handling their shit. And I have fears about Tyler's final two pitch. So that's mostly what I'm hoping for, because I see so much potential in him and as a player. And I've seen him fumble a little bit in the end game. If he can really pull it out, then I'm going to be so happy with how this turns out.
Yes. And we do have an update about the America's Favorite Player from Vegas, that Tyler is still in the lead with double digits.
Wow.
But Brett has surpassed Kaycee's place and is now in second place. So it's now Tyler in the lead with double digits for America's Favorite Player, followed by Brett, of course. Take that with whatever grain of salt that you want. JC apparently still nowhere even in the top 6, which still is very surprising to me. But hey, I'm not necessarily mad about it. So
do we think that if Tyler wins, that we're going to see a producer switch, and that the second place person is going to get it, and we'll never know the truth?
I don't think so. I mean, Grodner came out and said the winner can win it, and there's also leaks saying that Tyler's ahead. So I feel like I'm personally of the opinion that they don't do that anyway. So I would say no. But
didn't Vegas say that they sometimes do that?
Vegas said that.
I mean, it's Vegas.
Vegas said that Derek beat Donnie.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they said that Donnie got over 50% of the vote, though. So I don't know about that.
Math.
Maybe they were lying.
I mean, it always comes down to producers have the discretion to change with, So I kind of feel like if Tyler doesn't win, he gets it. If he wins, he does not get it.
That's kind of how I feel. I wear a little bit of that tinfoil hat. So
and honestly, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you're walking away with $500K. Like, I mean, the least they could do is give the 25 to someone else that has also helped people enjoy their show. You know what I mean? So
that's the point of that prize, right? Like it's almost kind of like if the person that maybe a lot of people felt like should have won it, and for whatever reason they didn't, they get something out of it.
I mean, the $500K, I mean, that means that they are the house guest's favorite player. Okay. Yeah. So like so just give, I mean, I would be fine with that. I don't really think that's, that bad of a thing for people to get all bent out of shape for. Like, if Tyler stands really take to Twitter tomorrow night in the event that he wins and then does not get the AFP, I'll be officially done with them.
It should have gone to Angela.
Like, get out of here. Like, let he won. Did you enjoy the show? Okay.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, tonight we will have the roundtable, the final roundtable during the season. We will probably have one to wrap up the season afterward, but I will be tweeting out the final Stock Watch form on Twitter, so make sure you're following me at Armstrong Taran. You will get to rate these players one more time, predict the jury votes, predict who's going to take who to the end. There's lots of questions that you can put in here. It's one of the most important forms of the season. Our final buying and selling decisions will happen tonight. There's so much to talk about, so make sure you tune in tonight at around 8:30 p.m. Eastern for the roundtable. And then tomorrow morning, I will be live, 10 a.m. Eastern, for the final morning update of the season. If anything happens, I think I'm just going to come myself, and we'll just chat about what's going on with these final three. You guys can ask me some questions, and we'll have a nice, chill final morning update of the season on the morning of the season finale of Big Brother 20. So, man, I'm excited. You excited, guys?
Pumped.
I'm very, very, very excited. I've been bringing it up every time I'm on this update that I've been in this draft. Tyler is my last player, okay? I did have JC in the So You Think You Can podcast thing. I was the last person to go, and I took the last surviving. So I guess I kind of have two, but I really don't. JC, I mean.
Yes,
okay.
But
yeah, I'm excited to see Kaitlyn again. We're gonna get to see Kaitlyn. That's all I care about.
And shout out to Kaycee's dad, who was in the chat for a lot of this recap.
Oh, really?
I apologize if we weren't as complimentary about Kaycee as you may have liked.
Though. We still were.
Yeah, I didn't say anything bad about her.
But thank you, Ken Clark, for hanging out with us on many of these mornings. I will also be live on Twitch during the finale to watch with you guys. So if you go to twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, it's also linked on my Twitter account. You can follow me there and get notified when I go live to watch the finale of Big Brother 20. So plenty there. Jenny, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Jenny Autumn. Yeah.
And Amon?
If I don't get shut down by the Fessy fans.
Yes.
I'm at Twitter at Amon Adwin, as always.
All right. Make sure you check out Amon's CNN videos. Whatever.
Yeah, I think I usually do one right before the finale, so you can probably expect one sometime tomorrow evening. So yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe it's almost over. It's crazy.
I know. We'll just one more day. All right. Thank you,
Get his
everyone.
life back.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for joining us on this wonderful morning. I will see you next time.